countdown has begun. Come on, it's time for fun. It's time to pick your favorites and decide what is shit. Are you ready for this? It's the tier list. Come on, let's go. It's time for the tier list show.
Welcome, everybody, to the tier list or the shit list, whatever you want to call it, here on Midnight's Edge After Dark. We have a rare appearance by the Script Doctor tonight, who looks like he's playing a Superman game on, is that N64, or is that a different, that's got to be something different.
Oh, no, this is an online game that's, nearly 20 years old, called Champions.
Oh, it looks like Superman.
Well, you can make a custom character on this, actually.
Oh.
And in fact, I can actually do something pretty neat here. And transform.
Oh.
And then, yeah.
How you doing, Superman?
And then you start flying.
Dude.
There you go.
That's almost better than most of the Superman games we've ever gotten.
I know, right? They had the name Superman in.
Jesus.
Remember Superman 64?
That's what I thought it was at first. I'm like, that ain't Superman 64.
Oh, God.
And hello, Professor R2.
Hey
How are
there.
Hey, R2. How's it going, man?
Doing well. Ready to talk some Superman.
Indeed, we are. And we have the list of steel tonight. That's right. Yeah. And Nick Weiser's in the house. How you doing?
Hey, Tom, Script, Professor, Chat. Doing good. Happy to be here. This is the week. We've been talking about
48 hours.
Dude, that's crazy. In
48 Most of us will be watching Superman in 48 hours, dude.
And then after that, we're going to be having a conversation on it. Dude, I remember when we first heard about the initial announcement of this, it feels like we've gone on this journey together, all of us through this, and now we're finally getting to the finish line with this. This is crazy. This has been wild. This is like, and this show feels like the second to last stop before we get to the end.
Indeed. So we have the tier list here, which is the Superman films, and in respect of Klobby, we don't have Man of Steel on here because it's not a Superman movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Actually, we're just doing all the pre-Snyder era shit. But no, it technically, let's not even get into that.
No, we're not. We just
let me fix this because this just isn't right. Let me go ahead and talk amongst yourself. I got to fix the.
Yeah, no, go ahead and fix it. But no, it makes sense, one, not to have Snyder stuff in there, A. B, a movie that has a very bad parental advice, being a man of murder, and no curl, no trunks, colorless movie. Yeah, I'd say that definitely checks out for not qualifying as a Superman.
Yeah, I can't make it.
Also, acting more like Batman and not acting like Superman as well, because he's becoming Superman.
Fuck them kids, let them die. In fact, fuck me, let me die.
I heard that in Nicolas Cage's voice. Let them die.
I know, yeah. Nicolas Cage would have been a much better Pa Kent, and it would have made more sense.
I mean, there would be funny things there. I mean, you know what's funny is you could actually take a quote from Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor and say, let them die, and overlap it with Man of Steel for every decision.
So what should I do, Dad? Should I just let them die?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck them kids! They made their choice.
It's such a stupid script. We even have the mother of the kid who's upset at Clark for saving her kid's life. Like, she's literally upset. It's like, I think
what's wrong with your kid?
Your kid,
he's like an alien.
Even if he did do this, he saved your kid's life. Why are you complaining? Have you met my son? Like,
this is not normal. That was not normal. First of all, everybody would not have believed it, and every one of those kids would have been like, we thought we saw Clark pushing the fucking bus out the water, but we know that's impossible. So we were probably drowning to death.
But we don't know why he was on the outside of the bus.
Yeah, we don't know. Just shit happens. Or you could have even went with like that whole, like, you know how mothers get stupid human strength when their babies are under cars and shit? Yeah. Maybe that just happened to Clark for a half. It's like, in all he's
Or
got to do is
maybe
walk over and look like I can't move it now. See?
Or maybe, the water pushed him and he was knocked out the back of the entrance. He was holding on, and then the bus just kind of drifted to shore.
Drifted. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there's a million different things, but they automatically jump to that. That just shows you how. Anyway, I don't want to.
Nope,
this is
son.
not supposed to be a
let's not think
bashing
about that.
session.
But really quickly, Tornadoes asked in the
Children
chat, and I want to respond to it. Tornadoes, to answer your question, Toxic Tuesday is a Rumble exclusive only show because we've had a growing list of problems that have been happening with YouTube in the last few months, and they've really escalated with no signs of letting up. So it was show either dies or show gets moved, and it's so much more uncensored. So we get to let it all hang out.
We're on
free
OnlyFans too. Don't forget that.
I mean, it's not just for adult content.
That's that. I had to remind myself that is true. That yes, apparently there is other stuff there. I wouldn't know, but I've heard through the grapevine. But yes, we are a Rumble exclusive show because YouTube has been a pain, and I need my channel to live, not get nuked. So
Yeah.
got pick and choose your battles, and that was where I chose my battle.
But no, you were
Anyways,
going to say something, R2? Yeah. Something about the children. I guess he left. Or he's muted and doesn't realize it. Okay. Yeah, he was going to say, I think it was a joke. So sorry that got cut off there, R2, if you meant to do a joke.
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So with that, Paulie, I see you in the chat. If you want in, let me know, or you can just come in. I think you got the keys. So let's see what you guys are talking about real quick before we get started here. Tornadoes. You're in the right place. And Kevin Costner hates you.
Kevin Costner is a Kansan who has no idea how to avoid being killed in a tornado.
Look, Wisconsin is not in Tornado Alley, but we get enough of them to where I seen that scene. I'm going, don't go under the fucking underpass.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Well,
You want to get sucked up?
Chris Terrio, David Escoyer, Zack Snyder, they're not really big on research.
Yeah. Having lived in Tornado Alley most of my life.
That's what I liked about Twisters.
Have.
When they actually say to the one thing, they're like, don't go there. It's like literally the worst place they go. But then they realize if they get high enough up in the thing, they might be all right. Like, that's okay. That's more accurate. Cause like we were told, like, yes, if there's no place else to go, if there's no other ditches and you have to go into an underpass, you go up way up into the joint to where it's the most stable.
As far as you can into it.
Yeah.
But you're better off. You're better off laying down in a ditch.
Yes, you're almost better off laying down
in
in the ditch. Yes, that's the where you're supposed to be. Anywhere lower or below the land. Because in most cases, the tornado will not come there. So
Yeah.
And Dark King says, Tom, we didn't even read that. Shit. Tornado says, though Supergirl Helen Slater film claimed to be Superman's cousin, she was from inner space, not Krypton. Strange fact. Well, I think she'd already been captured by they were kind of playing off the whole Brainiac thing, but I don't know if they just excised that from the script or if it was just kind of something they were setting up for later script. You probably know more about that.
Yeah, so they're in Argo City, which was part of Krypton, but somehow before the planet exploded, they managed to capture themselves into inner space, which is a parallel dimension, similar in function to the Phantom Zone.
Yes,
but it has a bit more flexibility to it. It's less of an inhospitable place. It was a sanctuary.
But I believe it was a leftover because they were gonna have Brainiac.
They were originally going to do Brainiac for Superman 3. But it was too expensive. The Salkinds didn't want to pay for it, so they just kind of cheaply repurposed everything else that they had.
Well, I thought I had read that Brainiac was supposed to be a part of that. Like that's why they were shrunk.
Yeah,
but they just kind of excised that, or they couldn't use Brainiac or something like that. That could be one of the two, maybe.
It's a very complicated history, and because it's about 40 years old, there's still a lot of stuff left to be desired.
Yeah, but we have this on the list, so we'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to it. Thank you, Tornadoes, for the very generous super chat there. Then Dark King sends in 2 Australian dollary dues. Says, Tom, I demand demand a complete Ed Wood tier list. Do it. Well, I've only seen one of his movies in completion.
Really?
That's Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen Glenn or Glenda?
I've
Oh,
only seen
yeah.
clips from it. I've never been able to actually find the movie. Right. So if I could find it, I'd have it. But I don't know if it's even had like a decent Blu-ray release or anything like a lot of his movies are stuck in video or DVD. I'd have to go looking for them. So, and then the other side of it is what ones did he direct under the other name besides the pornos? I don't know anymore. Because he had his other name that he directed movies under.
Right.
But yeah. Then Jason Webster says Superman is the only person who can wear a red underwear over blue tights and not have anyone question his fashionable sense, sanity, or sexuality. Well, unless you're a Snyder bro, I guess. 'Cause that's all they've been on about is super diaper. Shanatsky says Supergirl is morally superior to Snyder's Murder Man. This is true.
This is true.
I don't think that's very hard though.
No.
But let's get into this list because yeah, we've got some great flicks here. I got it set up here, and let's you know what, we were just talking about Supergirl. Let's put that right up front. Fuck it. Let's talk about Supergirl first and foremost. So this came out in '84. And it was after the Salkinds had shot their wad with Superman 3, and I think they were having disagreements with Warner Brothers and everybody else over Superman 4. So they ended up doing something else, and Christopher Reeve was supposed to be in the movie. In my understanding, in earlier scripts, he does have like an entire scene in the film and all that kind of stuff. And
he does have a whole thing there. However, Christopher Reeve, one thing he did is because he really liked Helen Slater, and he thought that she'd be really good at the role. He decided that he didn't want to take away from her presence in the film by like being there. People would come to see the Supergirl movie for Superman and not her, and he wanted to make sure that she had the merit of her role and her character would actually do something for the film. Now, one of the few compliments of the film is that nobody complains about Helen Slater in the role of Supergirl. It's just the rest of the movie that
no, she's the best. In fact, the cast is actually the best part of the film. The Salkind has never really had a problem with casting people, even though when we get to Superman, we'll maybe talk a little bit about how much of a nightmare it was to find Christopher Reeve. But
yeah,
one thing the Salkinds they managed to put together great casts for their films somehow, some way. And Helen Slater is perfect as Supergirl. All her backup cast is great. Shit, you even got the guy from Die Hard playing her love interest. Faye Dunaway playing the bad. She's just chewing the fucking scenery.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And I mean, it is batshit crazy comic book shit. But where do you? Oh, we got another gentleman joining us, Mr. Mark.
Mark!
Hey, Mark.
I've been for this one. I just got back from my mom's birthday party. She turned 29.
Well, happy birthday,
Oh, wow,
Mom.
again?
Hey, Merry Birthmas.
Yeah, so
Which is really weird because you're like in your 50s, but no.
yeah, she's 29. Yeah, and I wore my Superboy shirt.
Superboy. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we were just getting kicked off with Supergirl here, and we're just kind of setting it up. So the movie is basically about, as we said before, Supergirl is in her hometown in the shrunken, like alternate dimension, kind of like the Phantom Zone, and she breaks out, comes to Earth, where her cousin has gone before her, and she's a college girl now. She meets Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane's cousin.
Sister,
because or sister, yeah, sorry, because synergy.
who Jimmy's hitting on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Jimmy's where, because this is where Mark McClure is really starting to age too much. You got like a 35-year-old hitting on a college student. You know, like,
I mean, granted, the actress is like 20-something when she's in there. She kind of
true, but and Jimmy's probably only supposed to be roughly the same-ish age, but like in his 20s probably, but
yeah.
But Mark McClure definitely getting a little too old to be playing this role at this point.
He's 29, just like my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 29, just like your mom. This is a year before Back to the Future as well. Speaking of Back to the Future, somebody who always takes me back to the future, that is Greg. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey,
Wow.
Dean's here. Nice. Sweet. You got
That's
a great
right.
panel,
Hey, Greg.
man.
Now we got all the Superman folks here.
Now
That's
this
right.
is a panel of dudes.
Yes.
And are you back with us, R2? We lost you earlier.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my internet's being flaky.
Okay, yeah, because we were trying to figure out what you were trying to say earlier, but you didn't answer back. So I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
if we lost
Yeah,
you.
it's being flaky.
Okay, cool. So Supergirl. So yeah, so then we find out that there's this little orb thing that Supergirl, did she bring with her or did it follow her? I can't remember now. It's been
No,
a couple
She
years since I
actually
watched.
escaped because she was fooling around when she shouldn't have, and this is called the Omega Hedron. It's one of the two
That's
power
it.
sources of
Thank
Argo
you.
City. I still remember this movie, and I haven't seen it in like a couple of years. So this is this is pretty cool.
It's a pretty simple story. Yeah. I mean,
yes.
it's,
Unfortunately, I watched it a few days ago, and then Tom told me you were doing this too. I'm like, this
Yeah,
guy
that was
the
after
worst
that, yeah.
movies. And yeah, she's actually making a butterfly. And the only reason I remember because I just watched it. She's like using this, and there's like this wand that Peter O'Toole has. It's a very phallic-looking wand that he's waving around.
and it vibrates. Yeah.
It vibrates, and then she grabs his wand. I better watch my phrasing.
Hello.
And makes like a butterfly.
Well, it was Peter's tool, you know.
Yeah. She animates this butterfly that flies out of the wall of Argo City, which of course is in inner space, which you'd think would be able to withstand a butterfly. But then the what was the Omega Hedron?
Omega Hedron. Yeah.
Omega Hedron, flies out. The power supply gets sucked out in the vacuum of wherever space. And then she goes into the capsule. She's trying to retrieve it. I don't know why she decides to go. She used to get it. And all of a sudden, she turns into her Supergirl costume, just miraculously appears on her.
Just happens.
It just happens. Like
She
Wonder
shoots
Woman
out of the
puts her
water.
costume
She
up.
gets wet and turns into Supergirl. I don't take it as you will.
Well, the costume was inside the pod, but the pod was for Peter O'Toole.
Yeah.
O'Toole's
Peter's
character.
O'Toole.
So was he planning to wear that when he got to Earth?
Yes. and speaking of wearing girly items, how you doing, Brian?
Doing very well, and up your kilt, you dauber.
Yeah, Dober.
I'm going to pump your
Diddly
ma-
diddly potatoes.
No, that's
Why are you doing Irish to a Scottish?
Because I hate him.
Yeah.
I hate him.
It's okay. The feeling is mutual.
I don't know why I hate him. I just hate him. You're practically brothers. You should love each other. Fuck
You
you.
hate me because you hate me. Yes, that's the one. Anyway, good to be
Anyhow,
here. Where are
good
we?
to see you. We're talking about Supergirl. You're good timing, actually. We're just wrapping up the story, and now we're about to get to everybody's reaction to this shit fest. Because
All I heard
I
was
remember
Mark
seeing
talking
it
about
on
sex
video, and I think I saw the. So here's the thing: this movie exists in like no less than like 3 different versions. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was the U.S. cut, which was chopped all the way down to 1 hour and 49. It was 49 minutes, I think it was.
49.
It was 109 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Very short, yeah.
Very short. And then the international cut, which is runs over just over 2 hours and I think 5 or so minutes. And then there was the work print version, which they use for the TV cut, I believe, which runs closer to like 2 hours and a half or 40 minutes. And each version is crazier than the last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the American version, which I have not seen since I was a kid, because this is the only one they don't release anymore, I think was the tighter, more watchable version, if I remember, because I remember the movie being much more watchable when I was younger. And then when they re-released it on DVD, it was only in the extended cut and the work print cut.
And
I'm like, God, I don't remember this movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember this movie being so bad. I mean, I know it was bad, but I don't remember it being this bad.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's rough. Yeah.
But the worst part is because then the Faye Dunaway, Selena, she's fighting a witch. We got more magic, which worked great with the Riri Williams series with DC. But so she casts a spell on this guy who's actually from Hart Booch. I just said Ethan. The guy from Fred.
From
Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah, the cokehead,
And
yeah.
like she's supposed to like be, the spell, like he falls in love with her, and then she reciprocates and like falls in love with this guy. It's so cringe. It's just so bad. Like she really falls for the guy, and it's just the love story there, and it's just so creepy. And
this is one of the reasons why even though magic has always been a part of the Superman universe, why I'm not so sure magic would ever work so well on screen in the Superman universe. Like even Mitchell Pitzlick is probably taking it a little too far, because this movie is like in that realm of like, okay, this is why the magic shit doesn't work so well. This stuff. But look, as far as like if you were a little girl seeing this movie, I bet you loved this movie. This movie has, like, they knew what they were doing.
Does that mean
this
you
movie
enjoyed
wasn't.
it, Tom, did you enjoy it then?
No, fuck no.
Just kidding.
But I mean, looking back on it, especially the last couple times I've watched it, it was pretty obvious. The Cell look, say what you will about them, especially about the sequels, they knew what they were fucking doing. This movie, although it didn't work, it didn't pan out, this should have been the first movie for girls to get behind as a superhero, right? Like the stuff they're trying to do now, that's what this movie was, and it just didn't work. So they should have just looked back at this and gone, yeah, this just didn't work. Same thing with Catwoman. Girls don't get behind this. So unless you're going to do something really low level, maybe television, girls just weren't into this stuff, at least yet at that time. Because this movie was definitely made for girls. It was not made for boys.
But the main
right? There's nothing in it for men at all.
This movie, I've not watched this movie in years, but when I did, I watched it once or twice, and I was not thrilled. I liked who they casted for Supergirl, and that's where my compliments.
Love the costume, but other than that,
yeah,
yeah.
looks
I'm
great.
gonna say, there is what
suit.
you were wrong about. One thing, there is something in this movie for men. It's Helen Slater.
Yeah,
True.
And her costume is, but yeah, you're not wrong.
But the problem
Absolutely.
with this movie, the problem with this movie is that the budget was twice what it would have been because Faye Dunaway chewed so much scenery they had to replace it all.
They keep replacing it. And who was her co-star with her? The guy, not the chick.
He looked like basically an Alan Rickman type, but
yeah, he was like an Alan Rickman type. Yeah.
But before Alan Rickman was even known in Hollywood,
Hart
actually.
Bochner.
Peter
Hart-
Cook. That was Nigel. Peter Cook is Nigel.
Yep.
Oh, Peter Cook.
Was it Peter Cook? Okay, that's what I was trying to
Yeah,
figure
yeah,
out. 'Cause
Peter Cook,
like I said,
yeah.
the cast is
Yes.
just chock full of people.
I
Like,
just
you're like-
watched it, unfortunately, and
Because you got Peter O'Toole. Yeah.
I had fonder memories. Yeah, they should have had more time at the all-girls school. Maybe it would have been better then. But yeah.
And then the
was
chick that
just-
plays her sidekick, she also went on to be in a TV show. And I'm trying to remember what the hell show that was. But was it Empty Nest or something like that? One of those shows? I'm trying to remember.
That
am I
was
thinking
Brenda
of somebody else?
Vaccaro as Bianca. I've got the
Or Brenda
cast
Vaccaro, yeah.
list. Yeah.
Is it her that I'm thinking of, or am I thinking of
I mean, the
somebody else?
cast is really good. You can't, the cast was.
Somebody mentioned Matt
good cast in
Frewer's in
this.
it.
Yeah, truck
Yeah,
driver.
Oh, shit, that's right.
Yeah.
Simon Ward.
Wow.
It almost makes you want to rewatch it, and then you're like, oh, God, then there's that part.
Right?
Yeah, Supergirl
Peter
lands,
Cook.
and then Matt Frewer and the guys trying to attack Supergirl like this,
What show was
redneck-
Brenda Vaccaro on? Because, like, she was a big deal, too.
Wasn't she at Hill Street Blues?
Hill Street, I knew it was some show. I was trying to remember.
I think it's
Yeah.
Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
The girl that played Trillian in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy TV show was Sandra Dickinson was in it. Very
Oh.
high-pitched. She's got the very high pitched voice.
Gosh, now I do kind of want to go back and revisit this, but I know I'll regret it.
Cheesy.
You will.
You will.
If
You
you
will.
Well, since-
comedy, you'll be fine.
Well, since Mark's seen it the most recently, it sounds like. Let's start with you. What would you rate this on the ABCDF
It's
scale?
an F. It's an F. It's
All
a
right.
horrible. The only thing that would get Helen Slater is so innocent and cute and great as Supergirl and looks awesome, but it's just an F. I mean, I'm watching and I'm like, I thought this movie was good when I watched it as a 12-year-old, and I can see why maybe, but it's an F. It's just the
I
story.
do think
is
the
so
edited
bad.
down version fucking helps, Mark. I'm trying to think
It
back. I
might.
wonder if.
I watched the long version.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, as it was said in the chat here, and I was pretty much spot on. Stone Gassman brought it up before that. Yeah, the U.S. cut has only been available in VHS, so I wonder if that 105-minute version doesn't run a lot better than watching the longer versions because they add so much junk.
Oh, it's
And-
just so bad.
Yeah,
Nothing clicks. The fights are horrible. Ellis is, the romance is horrible. Everything, nothing works. I mean, you've got a great cast there, but
I would say the fight with the invisible magic monster is actually not bad.
I think that's okay.
yeah, okay. Well, that's.
Then again, that almost feels like a cop out.
Charges it up, and then I mean, for being a very cheap set piece, it was actually like done cleverly because she grabs a lamppost, she flies up to the clouds, captures lightning, and then uses that to, shoo it away. What really hurts this script is mostly the fact that the post-production effects are actually like really poorly done. The flying stuff is actually not too bad because Christopher Reeve, when he finished doing Superman 3, he gave Jeannot Swartz like every single tip trick that he did because he directed all the flying stuff for Superman 3. And he told Jeannot Swartz how to do that so that Helen would have.
most of the flying stuff ain't bad in here, but you're right. All the other effects are kind of dodgy. Yeah.
Well, the fight against the runaway top loader or whatever the construction,
the backhoe,
the backhoe fight. That's what I was thinking. That was so cheesy and bad. I was like, oh my god.
The transformation between the window where they didn't do proper measurements of the camera. So like when she flies in as Linda Lee and she's like 2 inches below the windowsill, and then Supergirl's like 2 inches above, so they're not in sync for the transformation. And then the same thing when she's doing her first transformation, like the trees and leaves are all changing with her because they clearly did it at a different day.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, they were cheap bastards. They were very cheap.
They were
bastards.
cutting corners on them. Like that's this is one of the movies where you'd want, if Warner Brothers would be willing to spend the money, you'd want them to recomposite the effects and get them all aligned. Because I saw recently, like Disney did that with Tron. There's like an 8K release where they fixed up all the effects, like they're the original effects. It just re-rendered them and color timed them correctly, and it looks gorgeous. And Supergirl would definitely get some extra points if they could do that. But in its current position, I'm kind of with Mark there. It's pretty loud.
I wouldn't be against that. See, that's something in the mastering process I wouldn't be against, because for those who don't know, and I'll try to keep this as succinct as possible. When they do these 4K scans, like, they're using the negative for anything that isn't processed, but anything that's processed that has like titles, that is like a special effects shot, that has opticals, it could be anywhere from a second, third, fourth, fifth generation dupe because of whatever they're doing. So you're losing all that resolution. Mm-hmm. So if they could go back into the original elements, if they still have them, you can basically reassemble them in a computer, and they're all first generation, and it's cheap. It costs you nothing compared to what it used to cost to do it in opticals. Now, Francis Ford Coppola has some of his movies where he has kept everything. Now, The Outsiders is a 4K where he put out where it's all first generation. He redid all the optical effects on computer and everything to match the original version. Now, again, some people may have some issues with that, and I totally understand. But to me, it looks beautiful. It looks brilliant. He didn't change anything. He just redid the opticals and the fades and stuff like that all on the computer now, and that's the only difference, really.
You make it look as good as it originally.
Yes, everything's first generation. Yeah,
you're not changing anything, but you're bringing it back to what it would look like fresh out of the can, I guess.
Or rebuilding it like you would had you had that technology back then instead of opticals. Because in opticals, you're stacking sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7 generations of film on top of each other. Basically, it gets kind of messy. That's why they used to shoot that stuff in 70 millimeter, because they knew how much degradation was going to happen. But anyhow, that being said, so we got an F, and then it sounds like script. You're kind of leaning more into the D arena. Am I gathering you correct there on that for Supergirl?
Well, save me for later. But yeah, I'll
I try to get an average of everybody. So all right, Greg, what do you say for Supergirl?
I would give it a D only for 2 reasons. One is because of Helen Slater, and plus I've met her in real life, and she's a very nice, sweet woman. But yeah, it's not a good movie. That's where I'll leave it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to lean with a D. All right.
Leave it a D because I've met her in real life, and she's a very sweet woman.
Brian?
Supergirl soars like a lead balloon, as they said it. I'm actually tempted to give it a D for a number of reasons. One is it's just nostalgic cheesiness. The second is that there's another movie in this list that really deserves an F, that you can't put the two of them on the same level, so I shouldn't be thinking ahead.
I don't know about that. But
this movie, and to be honest, this movie is to blame for that movie. Because they sold the rights.
If you're going, I think I know.
But anyway, I'm tempted to give it a D for just pure nostalgic cheesiness.
I can't argue too much with that, but I will go on with R2. What do you say? Unless you have more to say, Brian. Sorry.
No, that's me.
Okay, go ahead, R2.
Well, let's see. Honestly, I really would love to see the version of this movie with their original choice for Slater's role. Helen Slater was originally going to be Dolly Parton. In which case, I would definitely give it a D.
It would definitely have some double D.
Yeah, some Ds would be involved. But I'm just going to have to give it an F.
The soundtrack would have been amazing.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Yeah, she was the original choice, but she turned it down, reportedly turned it down.
So you said D or F, I'm sorry.
I'm going to have to give it an F. This movie stinks. It stinks out.
Did Dolly Parton fly with lead balloons?
was Dolly Parton going to be Supergirl? I thought she already was going to be Faye Dunaway, or
she was going to be Helen Slater's
part. But yeah,
well, she was
don't be surprised, because these guys were kind of wacky. Like when it came to Superman, like I said before, the casting was a huge. They had a list of people like you wouldn't believe. Like most famously, they had O.J. Simpson on the fucking list.
O.J. Simpson, Clint Eastwood, Sly
Yeah.
Stallone,
Yeah.
Warren Beatty, like tons.
Robert Redford.
Hey yo, there's Supergirl over there. What you doing?
Hey, Joe Lewis.
Demi Moore.
Yeah, Demi Moore was one. Brooke
was
Shields was
considered.
also considered. Yeah.
I think Demi would have been a little
She
young, but
was
yeah.
too young. Yeah, she was
I
only.
was gonna say those
She-
two are a bit young.
Well,
yeah.
she went on. She made another movie instead. I'm trying to remember what it was now.
Blue Lagoon.
It's something.
Brooke Shields, that would have been around that
No,
time.
no,
possibly,
Demi
or-
Moore. Demi
Oh,
Moore.
Demi,
St.
84.
Elmo's Fire, wasn't it?
St. Elmo's Fire. I was just gonna say, yeah.
No, Blame It on Rio.
Oh, blame it on
I'm
Rio.
thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's Blame It on Rio, which
Blame
is
it on Rio. Yeah.
another almost career-ending movie. Almost.
Nick Nolte was also up for it, as Action Com pointed out before. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So we got Nick. Where are you gonna put Supergirl?
I'm gonna go full on D for this one. It is not.
You're gonna give her the D, huh?
Yes. Well, I did not like this movie. I felt no incentive to go back to it. The only reason why it doesn't get the F for me is that there are worse movies that follow. And I'm not even talking The Quest for Peace.
Quest for Piss.
Would.
All right.
Like
Script
you
doctor.
all laughed when I said would. I made a Beavis and Butthead joke in there. You all would.
I do have a button for that somewhere.
Ooh.
But what do you say, Script?
I'm caught between a C and the D, and the reason it's caught between
What?
a C and
So you're you're transiting between C and D.
well, I mean, it's like a C and a half towards a D if you want to talk about cup sizes here. But one of the things, like, it's a very simple plot. It's a pretty good cast. It's got decent stakes, but its third act special effects is where it hurts the most, and also its special effects is where it hurts the most because, like, you have a simple goal. You never forget the goal is that she has to get the Omega Hedron back to her hometown, or else they'll die. And then you have Selena, the witch, played by Faye Dunaway. She just wants power, but mostly she wants to get into the pants of Bobby there from Die Hard, and so hers is basically the weakest part. So that's where I lean onto the D side of things, is because the villain's plot is pretty weak, not really compelling. So yeah, I'm probably gonna say D plus C ish to cross that over. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's also Jeannot Swartz, who I've met him a number of times because I would cross paths with him when I was doing some stuff over at Warner Brothers, and he was directing a ton of Smallville episodes because stunt directing. And while lots of cast members like him, he's very French, and that's why
He also did Jaws 2. Don't you say that.
And yeah, I think because his vision was, not as Western thinking as other directors would have had for this particular character. Like, there's no way you'd get Matt Fuller and that guy trying to assault Supergirl with another director, because they'd be like, no, we're not. That's a commentary on America, and you want to put this woman who has superpowers in a position where any other woman would be incredibly vulnerable, and she's okay to knock these guys out, because literally, like, the line she's asked, like, why are you doing this? The guy's like, it's just the way we are. I'm like, this is a bullshit scene. Sorry for my language. I don't swear much.
Well, and that's where, like, I'm at the point where, look, before Yellow Flash has an aneurysm, I give this movie an F.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I can't, like, it's unwatchable now. Like, so the problem here we have is this would probably land in a D easily if Script hadn't said C or F, maybe, because we got 3 Fs, 3 Ds, and a C. So
I thought Script was a D. I thought it was a D.
he said C plus or C minus plus D. I don't know what the fuck. What is it?
I heard
Pick
a D
one.
in there.
Yeah, I'm more leaning a bit more towards the D than the C.
All right, well then good, because it's gonna at least land. Okay, so that's a 50-50 then.
Just stick it in the D already.
Just D. Just give her
her
the
D.
D. It's fine.
We gave her the D. Wow, we took a
I
lot
don't think
longer on
Helen Slater's
Supergirl
got D's,
That
but
was
anyway.
No, they're not.
than I
Helen
planned
gave
on.
that much
But
time to that movie.
I know, right? Paulie comes in here with Brightburn is more of a Superman movie than Man of Steel. You're not wrong, probably, even though I've never seen it.
He's really
Oh,
not
Brightburn's
wrong.
dark. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tornadoes says, great panel, and chat hail me. Well, thank you again, Tornadoes. That's twice now you've sent in 2 big super chats.
Thank you.
Wowzers.
Thank you. And then Stone Gaspin sends in 5 and says, Supergirl nearly gets R'd by Max Headroom. That's true. We were just talking about that. And
Yep.
battles a witch over affections of the bearded guy from Die Hard. Totally guilty pleasure. Give it a C. Well, it managed to wind up in the D's. Action Com says, prior to Supergirl, Faye Dunaway did the movie Mommy Dearest. This is true. She seems to have had a hard time breaking out of that role, at least in her own head. I see traces of it in Supergirl. Well, yeah, maybe she's just that way. Action Com says, shout out to Matt Fuhrer, who played the truck driver in Supergirl. It seems like truck drivers have to go bad guy in the Superman series. Yeah, I totally forgot he was in the movie till you guys brought it up earlier. Then Jason Webster says with 10 Australian, if you commit a crime on Supergirl's very special time of the month, your goose is cooked. Not a Robert Kardashian type lawyer. Not even kryptonite is going to save your ass. You're gone, baby. Yeah, I don't think you'll get close before she zaps you. You're not wrong there, Jason. And with that, I think we actually hit our goal, so I got to sing the song. Superman, da-da-da-da, Superman, da-da-da-da. He's going to get the bad guys. Flying for what?
Flying fast as you can.
Flying fast as he can, faster than a bullet or a train, man. Superman. I don't know. All right, now on to Superman Returns. Oh, 2006. I was looking forward to this movie.
Likewise.
Yes.
Brandon Routh was a great choice to take over the mantle. I kind of like the idea of what Singer was at least presenting with taking the best of the Donnerisms and kind of giving its own new spin on it at the same time. But then when you see the film and it's supposed to be this quasi-sequel, it kind of starts to fall apart in the third act. So yeah, the movie is about Superman being gone for 5 years. He returns home to find out that he popped out a kid with Lois, and that Lex Luthor still has a thing for land. And now he looks like Kevin Spacey.
Wrong! No, I'm just kidding.
Right off the bat, I've got a problem with this 5-year thing because he's Superman. He could just fly around the Earth fast backwards and turn back time, and he would never lose Lois. So come on, it's been done. He can do it again.
You can time travel, yeah, if you so wish.
Yes, exactly.
This
So
is
he's
true.
moping about losing Lois. Well, just fly backwards around the Earth or whatever you do.
Yeah, that's right, because Cyclops comes in and takes his woman. And he's not a bad guy. He's just,
No, I mean that's James. Bryan Singer always puts James Marsden in the position where he's not the bad guy, but he's probably not going to be the dude that's ending up with the girl at the end. Of the movie.
Yes.
So you're
you're
saying
I know a lot of women that would fall head over heels for James
yeah,
Marsden.
but, so wait a minute, you're saying that she got the one eye? Sorry.
Well,
Well, Superman was away. Well, Superman
Eyes
was
wide
away.
open.
you're naughty.
Well, this
All
movie
right,
has
so
so
who
much
wants to kick
potential.
this off?
I'll go to start, I guess. This movie had so much potential. I remember going to see it with some friends. And this is way back when you couldn't get reserved seats. So we bought tickets, and, people don't sit next to each other. So we're waiting there to get our seats. And the opening played with, Superman, which is the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, was when he stops the plane from crashing and, or it crashes, but it lands in the stadium with the baseball game going on. And he sees Lois again. And I thought that scene was phenomenal. And we should have just left and gotten our money back after that. And then we had to wait for the next showing to start and watch the movie. It's just such a rehash of, Superman 78. And unfortunately, just, Spacey's okay, but it's just too much of a rehash. And Routh is good, but the whole convoluted story with this kid. And it's just, I didn't like Lois, Kate Bosworth. I didn't think she did a good job as Lois. And it's just it's a miss. So I was really disappointed by it. It's a shame because Routh could have been a great Superman, but just the story was lacking. And when it was the land thing again with Lex, you're like, not again, right? And he's pushing the whole Kryptonite Island up, and it's just a shame. It's a lot of potential there, but I don't think it really hit on any of the right notes, unfortunately.
So what would you grade it?
I would give it I'm almost give the damn thing an F again too.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I go. Yeah,
It's your rating.
total miss. It's a total miss. I mean, it's just. Is it would I want to watch it again? I mean, I almost watched it today because I knew we were doing this show, but I didn't get around to it. If that says anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of times I get the. Because there's a lot of things I love in it, but yeah, there's a lot of things that you gotta hate in it. So, all right, we got an F from Mark. Let's go back to the same order. Greg, what do you say?
I have a love-hate relationship with this movie because, yes, once again, I think Brandon Routh was inspired casting, and in my opinion, I think he deserved a second chance. I would love to have seen a sequel with him. There are a lot of things that really do bog this movie down, from Kate Bosworth, who is probably the worst Lois Lane, next to someone else who I won't name because it's not on this list.
She's a better. Still a better Lois Lane in some way, because at least she's smart enough to figure out that Superman and Clark Kent are one and the same. So
yeah, that's what I said. She's probably Kate Bosworth is probably the worst Lois Lane. The cat, like some of the surrounding cast, is just not great. You would think Frank Langella as Perry White would be great, but he just. I don't know. I didn't see Perry White in him, and but I did like Sam Huntington as Jimmy Olsen, and I thought him and Brendan Routh were very well. I did like the helicopter, or not the helicopter, the plane catch thing. I did like the bullet to the eye. I thought that scene was incredible when he's like flies above, like it's on the poster where he's up there and he's listening for people, and he goes around saving people. I thought that was very Superman. I did like seeing him lift the island, the Kryptonite Island, out of the thing, but once again, like with the whole disappearing for 5 years, Lois has moved on and they have a kid together. It's just, I don't know. I give it a C. I give it a C at best, because I just I think there's a lot of good in the movie. I just think it falters and fails on levels that just keeps me from going any higher. But I just don't think it's as bad as Supergirl. That's why I'm leaving it at a C.
Indeed.
All right, so we got a C, and then we lost R2. He's having some internet issues. I don't know if he's going to come back or not, but sorry about that, Professor R2. So you got it a C. All right, so Brian, what about you?
I think the main problem with this movie is it's dull, but it's and I'm not. I mean, is the supervillain. The plot of the villain of Lex Luthor is basically to sell real estate, which doesn't seem all that threatening.
I don't know. Realtors today are pretty much pain in the ass.
Pretty much pain in the ass. I mean, it just seems like your average
I think the problem was
globalist. Really
turned a joke in the first movie into an actual plot.
Yeah.
Like,
something
they're not making any more of. Yeah, they are. I'm going to make some more land.
I really, really wanted to like it. I really, really, really did.
I did.
It just couldn't. It was just dull, kind of dull and no fun. So, but I don't think it's an F. I think there's enough little bits and pieces in it, like the bullet to the eye scene thing. Brandon Routh is although he's not nearly as charming as Christopher Reeves, it was pretty good. So I think a D is probably appropriate for me. I do have the Blu-ray. But
there you go.
I've only ever watched it once in the cinema and once on Blu-ray, and that's it.
Nick,
I'm gonna stick this in the D as well. This movie was not good. I saw it opening night in theaters. I was very let down by this movie. Not angry let down, but I was like, wow, I can't believe I saw a new Superman movie and it wasn't good. It really bummed me out. It was I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed in you type of movie. And it really bummed me out because I actually thought the casting of Brandon Routh was good. But man, I knew something was off when I saw him creeping on Lois and the whole cigarette thing, and that then there's the whole deadbeat dad situation. Oh man. And then it was just such a bland movie too. That's the thing. Like, a lot of the movie is very forgettable, and I have not gone back to watch it ever since. I don't care to watch it, and I have a strong feeling that's one movie I will not soften my stance on. If anything, I'm sure if I rewatch it, I'd probably try to have an even more hardened stance than I did back in 2006 on opening night, the year of the Juggernaut, bitch.
All right, so what's your score? D?
Big D.
All right, big D. Script.
Man, so biggest flaw with this movie is that Bryan Singer was trying to make a Richard Donner Superman movie as opposed to making a Superman movie.
Yep.
Next part of the problem is Bryan Singer and the two writers, they are gay men, and not that I think there's wrong with that, but they were very much looking at the relationship between Clark and Lois more of a lustful point of view as opposed to a romantic one. And they didn't know how to do romance for it, which is why you get those creepy moments of Superman floating outside of her and Richard's place using his X-ray vision and super hearing to spy on them. That's creepy tactics.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Plus, how small the S is on his chest too.
Well, the entire costume is wrong because they made a tight collar around his neck, so it shrinks his chest size. They make the small S. They make the trunks to look more like a Speedo. The cape was too heavy and dark. Like these are like things that where, a different type of movie maker.
Bryan Singer is bi, but he was really flaming during this movie, unfortunately.
Like Brian De Palma would probably have had a better costume choice for this movie than Bryan Singer. I will say though, the cinematography and the special effects in this film are fantastic. Like they are top tier. The entire
considering it was shot on digital, yes.
Yeah.
And there was some, I think, IMAX footage, but other than that, yeah.
They shot a bunch on IMAX, but like not a lot of most of it was actually cut because there's 30 minutes missing to this film that unfortunately we will never see because it's not on any of the special features, it's not on the Blu-rays or anything like that. It was
Robert's talked about it a few times, yeah.
But one of the things is like when you see that first plane save and you have Lois in the back of the plane and she glances out the window and you just see that blue blur with the red cape. Beautifully shot, evokes a lot of emotion. It actually it's one of the few scenes you'll see in a Superman movie where you're like, oh, everything's going to be okay right now, and you just kind of get you get goosebumps on your skin, and you get excited to see how he pulls it off. And it's a really well done sequence of events, but the characterization it's lacking the authenticity it needed for the cast that it has. Like I felt Kate Bosworth was a good choice, but she didn't have any. The only time she actually showed any real reporting skills is during the montage where she's trying to localize that power blackout thing. Like she's calling up people, she's asking questions, she's cross-referencing and triangulating in areas like, oh, wow, journalism. We haven't seen that in a Superman movie ever, actually. We've only ever seen.
Yeah, it's more or less who was cast, right? Like that's my problem with it. It's like I had very little issues so much with Lois herself in the film as I did just, first of all, she's cast way too young, wrong actress.
Well, she's primarily too young because they added a kid. If they didn't add a kid, she'd be fine. And if they actually put more than just 2 scenes with her and Superman alone together, or Clark alone together, we probably would have been able to see some chemistry because we didn't have any. If every time Clark's around Lois, there's Richard or the kid. They're never one-on-one. And there's only one real scene where Lois and Superman are together at the rooftop of the Daily Planet. And that's it. Every other time, there's all those other kids around there. So there's no chance for them to actually have that spark because the motivation for Lois at this time is, well, I'm with my fiance and with my kid. I'm not going to divulge my feelings. Oh, I see him on the airplane that he just saved us. Well, I'm around all these other people and I'm speechless that this guy is back in my life after 5 years. And there's nothing going on there either. It's really just kind of lacking. And that's due to direction and poor writing. And the repetition of the story of Lex Luthor going after a real estate thing again.
Well, it's because it was a quasi half-ass remake of the original film while also trying to start something new, and that's the problem. Is it was set up for sequels we were never ended up getting.
Yeah, that's the other part. They were thinking more about the next movie as opposed to the one that they were working on, and also they were treating it as a pseudo Superman 3 because they wanted to be a follow-up of Donner's Superman 2 cut that would just came out that same year.
Yep. That they also used footage of, like excised footage of Brando and stuff in his version too. So
yeah, and it was. I mean, they had a whole bunch of other ideas that they wanted to incorporate into this film that they didn't manage to nail. But the stuff that they did nail well are some of the saves, like Superman going through Metropolis, catching the falling girder sign, using heat vision to turn broken glass into sand, blowing out the gas pipe explosion. All great stuff. But it just those are the highlights to it. There, if you want to have that charming scene between Superman and Lois to point to, it's not there in Superman Returns. If you want to see a goal back and forth set of dialogue between Brandon Routh and Lex Luthor, or Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, it's not there. Like when they finally meet again, it's on the island. He's got kryptonite and he's basically silent for the entire exchange. So where's the battle of wits? Where's the characterization? It's gone. So this one for me, I have to say, like special effects wise, it's an A, but story wise and rewatchability, it's a D.
So does it land in a C then for you, or are you just going to give it a D overall?
I'm going to give it a D. Even though it's something where I could watch the saves on its own and enjoy them, the part of the movie that really counts is the stuff in between the saves. And
I mean, really, at this point, it doesn't matter what I give this movie because it's pretty much going to wind up in the D's. But I would actually give this movie a C, because the first half of this movie, or first almost 2/3 of the movie, is really good. There's some really interesting stuff. Yes, the chemistry between Lois and the shit I've already said, I agree with completely with what Greg and you guys have all said. But all the Superman stuffs, and as far as evoking Superman, Singer did an amazing job, especially with, he had a lot of the things that Man of Steel ended up missing, right? Mm-hmm. But what this didn't have was a very climactic ending, and it goes off of what Script was just saying, and I kind of implied too, was that unfortunately this movie was setting up for other movies that never happened. It had the insurmountable, it had to pay for movies that didn't happen to begin with between Flyby and Superman Lives, so it had that to deal with, and the international box office just wasn't there, and the DVD release was a fucking mess. So there was no real way that this ever had a chance in hell to survive.
It was like 578 worldwide, wasn't it? It's global, like half a
which was respectable, but it was not the amount they were looking for. They were hoping for north would have 7.
It was north of 750 because of 10 years.
Yeah, they needed
expenses to try and to pay for Superman, because Tim Burton had a pay or play deal, and
so did half the cast and all that shit. So yeah, it was most like half this movie's budget was Superman Lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other problem was, like I said, internationally, it just didn't perform as well. And the videos were, because they released, this was a movie they also used for the home video release. And Robert Meyer Burnett has talked a lot about this, where it was a guinea pig. It was a guinea pig. They released 2 different versions because Walmart wanted a lower price point on DVDs. So Warner Brothers released a single disc version and a 2-disc version. Mm-hmm. And the single disc version outsold the single disc version by far. But they sunk so much into those 2-disc, it didn't really
special
make any
features,
money on disc.
Special features on the 2-disc version.
So it was just,
features are better than the movie, man.
Unfortunately, what they did is they spent so much money on that release, and more people bought the single disc edition instead of the 2-disc edition, and it didn't really make that much money didn't make up what it needed to on video. So it was like it was just set up to fail from the start, and then Singer didn't help. Right? It was one of those things that was like, it had every goddamn thing working against it, and then you had to screw it up by fucking up that third act. If you'd have just made a movie that stood on its own, maybe we'd have had 3 more of these movies, but unfortunately, that's where we're at, and it was the sad ending of the Donnerverse, in a way, along with the beginning of what was the end of the Singerverse. So yeah, like I said, I'd give it actually a C, but considering everybody's ratings here, it's going to end up in the D's.
Well, the fun fact is that Warner Brothers did actually greenlight the sequel to Superman Returns, but Bryan Singer wanted to do Valkyrie because he had a chance to work with Tom Cruise.
Yeah. And then I think also, didn't Justice League Dark also happen around that same time too, or something like that?
Well, George Miller was actually working on Justice League Dark, and they were considering bridging that over. That's what Warner Brothers was thinking about.
Or Batman Begins, one of the two. I'm trying to remember now.
Well, Batman Begins was already done, so it was finished the year before. So they were already working on trying to get Nolan to do The Dark Knight.
I was going to say, because as soon as Batman Begins happened, that's what kind of killed the sequel's potential too. Because at that point, they wanted to do a Superman Begins. That was what the studio wanted, because especially after Dark Knight, I know that.
Well, I mean, that's what they were going to plan to do with the Superman Returns sequel, is have like something with Brainiac, something with the kid being a point of interest for Brainiac or something like that. Singer was kind of on board until he met Tom Cruise, and Chris McQuarrie basically was saying like, yeah, we're doing this Valkyrie thing. And then Warner Brothers didn't want to spend the money on getting a different director. And the Dark Knight was already like ramping up, because this would be 08, 09. And they were wondering, well, can we reconcile? They went over to Christopher Nolan. They said, hey, you've seen Superman Returns. Can we reconcile that style into this thing that you're doing? And Christopher Nolan said, my Batman isn't in a world where Superman exists. And Warner Brothers was like, okay, we'll just go with this then. And then they just dropped everything pretty much right away. They dropped the Superman Returns sequel, and they dropped the George Miller Justice League project.
Yeah, because at that point, it was just basically give us a Batman Begins, but with Superman. And they wanted Nolan to direct, but he said no. And that's when they got Snyder and all that business. So
yeah. Once he finished the trilogy, basically he's like, I'm not doing superheroes anymore.
Jason Webster says if Superman 4 Quest for Peace were any more of a turkey, it would have been served with cranberry sauce. Felt sorry for Christopher Reeve. Yeah, we're going to get to that stinker. The Tweaky Kid also sends a 99 and says, I'm on the road and had to pull over to chime in with a possible hot fringe take. Not in the second film was more scary than Ross Webster's cyborg sister in the third, as he deleted that kid and the horse. Oh, yeah, that's true. Which version is that in? I can't remember now. Is that in the Donner version?
I think it's in the Donner version.
Yeah.
I think it's in the Donner one, yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. But that version wasn't, as I was going to say, because that version wasn't out when we were kids, I don't think. So, all right. Well, the next one is Superman the movie. And this one, I don't know if there's going to be any debate on where it ends up.
Just put it in the A.
Yeah.
But
Easy A.
What I do want to add, you know what I forgot to add to this? I can't believe it. The Donner cut. Jesus Christ. But anyway, as we're going with that, I want to get, since it's obviously an easy A, I want to get everybody's just kind of memory or your first time watching Superman. Was this your first? Because like for me, this was my first time seeing the character. And I think what I saw was not the first night, but the second night of the TV, one of the TV showings. Because it first aired in 81 or 80 or 81. And then they kept re-showing it for the next couple of years until Superman 2 started. And I do remember when Superman 2 was on television. But this was the first time as a little kid, and I'm trying to remember back to being like 3 years old. You guys got to remember, yeah. So I just remember my mom setting me down.
Cape on.
No, yeah. I mean, I knew of Superman, and I'm sure I had like the Super Powers toy or whatever it was, and I knew of Superman, right? Like Superman was a thing. But then my mom sat me down. And she's like, "Watch TV. There's gonna be something coming on here you're gonna like." And all of a sudden, that whole like. You know, because when they showed the first film on television for the second night, they showed an opening that was much like the opening of Superman 2, where it kind of went through all the story and everything real quick of what happened in the first half of the movie. So, like, for me, I was getting sucked up in all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, the movie picks up right where Superman shows up, because when they did it over 2 nights, the end of the first night ended right after where Superman saves Lois on the helicopter. So they pretty much show most of that scene, and then it goes right into the movie again. And I'm just like, holy shit, this is Superman on my TV. And I thought it was real. Like, I thought Superman was fucking real. Like, I just thought like,
wait a minute. Video. Are you saying he's not real?
I know, right?
You just ruined my life.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna cry.
But I was like freaking out because I was just like, oh my God, it's Superman. It's Superman. It's Superman. You know, it was just, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, so to me, this movie just changed my world because it was just kind of just blew my mind that this thing was there. Kind of like with He-Man, right? Like I've told that story before too, because that was like, you know, another thing, but that was a cartoon. And maybe I'd seen the Super Friends cartoon at this point too. I don't remember because it's been so obviously so long ago. But so yeah, just that, it's just to me, Superman was just kind of always there, and the movies were still coming out as I was a little kid. So yeah, I mean, this was my Superman growing up, and for the longest time, Christopher Reeve was just Superman to me, right? So when when we have those debates on who's your Superman and all this other crap, it's like, look, we all have our favorite actors who have played Superman and whatnot, but Christopher Reeve is Superman. When I say that, people don't understand when I say, like, you don't understand. Like, in my primordial little fucking brain, like Bill Clinton's Bill Clinton, Bill Cosby's Bill Cosby, Superman is Superman. Right? Like, and that's Christopher Reeve. There is no Christopher Reeve. There's this guy who kind of looks like Superman that's in other movies sometime named Christopher Reeve, but there's Superman and there's Christopher Reeve in my brain still. Like, it just, there's two different guys there. I still can't combine the two in my fucking brain. So when I think of Superman, anybody says Superman, that's the first thing that comes to my brain is Christopher Reeve's version of Superman saying, you know, like, I never lie, Lois, or, you know, hello, Miss Lane. Whatever famous line you want to blurt out that at that moment just comes to my brain, and the voice that I hear is Christopher Reeve.
Still the safest way to travel.
Exactly. So everything since then has been me stacking it. Even George Reeves, I had to it doesn't matter that it came out before to me. That was some other guy pretending to be Superman. Like, anyhow, so I got that out of my way. Script, I know you're a huge Superman fan. In fact, I know you've told this really cute story, a meet cute story, for lack of a better term, considering you're a writer, about your girlfriend where you inadvertently used a Superman line when you met.
Yeah, because it was early November, 6 years ago, and this was when I was still working for the publishing company on the offside when I was doing screenwriting in Hollywood. So she would always be on my commute back home because she lived in my neighborhood and she worked in the building across from me. So I'd always see her around, but we never really spoke much. And then I'm walking home. She's like 10 feet ahead of me, heading to her place, and it's cold and the sidewalk's a little icy, and she slips and I get underneath and I catch her. And I basically say, "Oh, evening, miss. It's okay. I got you." And she's like, "Oh, thank you. Whatever." And, you know, that's kind of how we kind of started talking and, you know, ended up starting dating. And then a couple years later, we watched the Superman, the movie, because she hadn't seen it in a long time. She saw it as a kid and thought it was really fascinating. And she's just like, "Hey, let's put this on." And then when you get to that scene, when Superman catches Lois Lane and says, "Evening, miss. It's okay. I got you. You got me. Who's got you?" She literally like swats me in the chest and says, "You said that when we met." And I'm like, "Did I? I don't remember that." And I genuinely didn't.
It's because it just is in your brain now forever.
Nice.
But I mean,
that.
you know, what else are you going to say when you catch a woman when she slips? It's like, "Hey, I got you. It's okay." So.
See, now that's the kind of story Clobbering Times would have loved.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
he would have loved hearing that.
He would have loved that. I'm sure if he's heard it, he loved it because, he's always quoting movies and throwing things out there like that. And he does it on purpose. But when you do it inadvertently like that, because that's how I'll catch myself with like Superman, certain other films from that era where I just grew up with them since forever. They're just kind of embedded in my brain, right? Even the like, why wasn't I told about this? Who's in charge? Like,
Yeah.
So like just little things that'll ring like a song in your head, and Superman's definitely one of those movies. So like, yeah. So Nick, or sorry, Script. So yeah, you met your girlfriend kind of vicariously through Superman. You can basically thank Superman for that.
Tom Mankiewicz for the line.
Yes,
he rewrote
yes, you can.
So Mario Puzo did the first draft, which was terrible. The Newmans did the second and third one, which was not too great. And Donner's like, I want to have Tom Mankiewicz write it. And the Salkins and even Warner Brothers says, well, we can't credit him. and that's when we got the creative consultant.
Well, and wasn't it a Writers Guild thing at the time too? Because they had 3 writers. If they did a fourth, it would have caused some other issues. And they wanted Mario Puzo's name on it. So
they wanted his name on it for The Godfather. And you tell a great story about his conflict with writing that, but we'll get to that in a second.
That's great.
But,
Script. I just want to say that line was a great pickup line. Then I guess by the
bump.
Sorry,
that
was a bad pun.
A pickup or a catching line.
Yeah,
there you go.
But like my first time seeing Superman was in '86. The movie theater in my hometown had a marathon leading up to Superman 4.
Oh, so wow, cool.
So I got to see Superman. The movie, followed by Superman 2 and Superman 3 over the course of a week before the premiere of Superman 4. And as a kid, I loved all the films because they were fantastic for basically a 3.5, 4-year-old at the time. And this was like right when I started falling in love with Star Trek and watching Columbo and Quincy and the classic William Dozier Batman with Adam West. So I was kind of in the superhero mode and detective mode for the whole thing. So I loved watching those movies. And yeah, they kind of stuck with me for a while. I remember when they came out on the VHS box set. I spent my money for my first part-time job as like a paper boy on that stuff. Then the DVDs, same thing. When music came out on vinyl and on CD and cassette tape, I got all those versions as well because it was great. And I was already reading the comics at that time because my dad was buying some of the newer issues and showing me to read them because he's like, you like Superman, read the comics, and here's some other material as well. So Superman and Batman comics were circulating around my house a lot, especially the film adaptation comics that my parents managed to find and give me. Yeah, so it's love the movie, love the portrayal of Christopher Reeve doing Superman. And his very, at the time, it was a rather unique version of Clark Kent because we'd never seen a Clark Kent like that before.
All right. Nick, you're a little younger than the rest of us. So you probably, I mean, by the time you were born, most of these movies had come out, I imagine, right?
Oh, absolutely. 1987, but however, just because I was, didn't mean, well, I didn't get around to all these. And I remember I was actually given a warning about the Quest for Peace from my dad. He's like, "Are you sure you want to watch this?" I was a kid then, and I'm thinking to myself, "What's he mean?" And I didn't really understand it. I was a kid, and then when I revisit as a teenager, I'm like, "Oh, this movie's not good. This is not a good movie at all." And well, I haven't watched it since. I'll give Superman 4: The Quest for Peace an F.
Oh, we haven't got to that yet.
We haven't got to that one yet.
Oh, we're talking about just he might have stepped away. We're just talking about your introduction to Superman the movie.
Oh, sorry, I missed that part. Okay.
No worries.
My introduction. Oh, well, I remember
Like, no way is this movie an F.
easily. We rented at the library and when I lived in Berwyn, we'll see that Sven Gulli says.
Yeah.
We picked up from the library, and I watched that tape a lot. I think we ended up being like 2 or 3 months past due with the tape because I wouldn't let go of that tape. So I had attachment issues, and that movie was near and dear to me very quickly with Superman the movie. So yeah, that one I remember very distinctively. I used and abused that VHS tape, and I don't know if it made it back to the library in one piece. I don't know. I just know that there was a fee. That's all I know. But yeah, I loved it. And I didn't understand like the nuances at the time. To me, it was just like I like seeing Superman in action. And that was cool. But revisiting it as an adult and a teenager or falling in love with it more and more in time. So it was definitely a movie I clicked with throughout time. That was definitely the movie was my introduction. The comics was immediately after. I think Dan Jurgens was writing the comics right as I was looking into the comics. And then, oh, hey, look, a Superman the Animated Series. Burger King has toys for it. And this was at a time when Burger King was actually kind of cool as well. So it was just the perfect storm. It was a wonderful time in my life. So, yeah, I think that I actually ended up getting all the Superman Animated Series toys from Burger King. So, yeah. A lot of great Superman memories in the early mid-90s. I remember my brother and I had a Superman versus Doomsday 2-pack set where it came with a comic. It was pretty badass, I must say. It's pretty badass. It was cool to have those figures. So a lot of great young Superman movie memory, comic memory, cartoon memory as a wee one. Superman has been in my life and it's been pretty awesome.
Cool beans. All right, Mark, I think you may have even told me this, or I've been on the stream where you talked about it. So I think you were old enough to see it in theater when it first came out. Correct?
Yeah. I was 10 years old. Yep. And went to see my buddy David Prince invited me to go see this. Back when like the moms would take you. Like, hey, Mark, you want to go see Superman? Right. I'm like so excited to go see Superman. I hadn't been to see that many movies as a kid, as a 10-year-old, you hadn't seen that much, and this is before VHS, so God, I was psyched to go see this movie. God, just loved it, just blew you away. And I'd watch Superman on TV, the Superman series with George Reeves, and love that. The black and white and the color, and of course you love Batman. The Batman '66, but this was such a massive deal when this came out. This was just so amazing, and you really did believe a man could fly. I mean, the special effects were so wonderful, and Christopher Reeve was instantly, you're like, that's Superman, right? He was a total unknown. I don't know if we haven't talked about the casting, but I mean, at one point
We
they
kind
were
of
looking
got
at
it a little bit.
a little
But yeah,
bit.
if you want to
Yeah.
talk about it, go ahead.
Well, yeah, like they'd gone over like, oh, let's maybe Muhammad Ali, and let's see who else was on that list for super. I mean,
Just about
Arnold
anybody that was
Schwarzenegger
anybody,
wanted
yeah.
to be it. They wanted to cast him, and thankfully they went with Reeve. But I think Warren Beatty was. Here's the list here. Warren Beatty turned down the role. James Caan wouldn't wear the suit. You had Perry King, Christopher Walken, Nick Nolte, John Voight, Charles Bronson. Nolte wanted to play Superman as a schizophrenic. James Bond, James Brolin, Lyle Wagner.
I don't know if I'm Clark Kent or if I'm Superman.
Right? I mean, Neil Diamond lobbied for the role. Neil Diamond
Everywhere around the world,
Amen.
I'm fucking Superman.
right?
Sing it, Sweet Caroline.
Imagine Christopher Walken
Sweet
as
Lois
Superman.
Lane.
Christopher Walken as Superman. God, I mean, all good,
Lex,
all good actors, but
where's the
Superman's blue. Everybody loves him.
Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood would have been an interesting one too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Clint. I could see Clint as Superman.
Go
yeah, but,
ahead, Lex. Make my
thankfully, they picked Reeve, and he Darth Vader, David Prowse bulked him up. He didn't wear a fake muscle suit. And as a little kid, you're like, I know what you're thinking, Tom. Like, this is Superman. Like, you think he's real at some point. As a 3 or 4 year old, of course, you don't know. But in that movie theater, you forget in that scene, who's got me? You've got me. Who's got you? With Margot Kidder's Lois Lane.
Just so you
the theater
guys
went
understand,
nuts. The theater went
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, I can't reiterate this enough. How like a whole generation thought Christopher Reeve was Superman. Like I think
Yeah.
more people probably cried the day they heard Superman is now in a wheelchair than probably the death of any other celebrity. Right? I mean, I was sad the day that Christopher Reeves died. But it wasn't as bad as the day we found out that Superman was unbreakable. Wasn't unbreakable.
Yeah.
It was kind of one of those moments. Even as a teenager, when it happened, I caught myself. I'm just like, I'm a fucking adult practically. Why am I having this reaction to this? And it just was this thing that, man, because he was Superman.
Yeah, and that scene with his father having the heart attack, and that's what Man of Steel missed. They got the humanity of Superman here, and the famous scene where Man of Steel, where Superman can't save his dad from a tornado, which is ridiculous. But in this, they made the proper choice. Even though you don't like seeing Pa Kent die, he has a heart attack, something that with all his powers, I couldn't save him. And that wonderful transition from his house, the farm to Metropolis. And I mean, how much better was Christopher Reeve's Clark Kent was groundbreaking, his script said. And that one scene, where, he's going to give himself up to Lois, and he picks his shoulders up, and he's changing his voice, and he's Superman. And you see him turn to Superman in the Clark Kent outfit. And then he realizes the last second he can't do that, and he shirks back, and he becomes Clark Kent again. And it's just a tragic scene in so many ways, but so beautifully acted. It's just you never be equaled again. No one will be as good as Christopher Reeve. So this is an A++, and clobbering times. We all love and miss here. This is one of his all-time most favorite movies. So this should have like its own tier for itself, I think. So just a wonder. And you did get the Lois Lane is on the train too. The original one of the original Lois Lanes from the TV show, and
that's in the Donner cut and the TV cut. Yep.
And Super is also one of the actors who played Superman on the train too, or who's in that?
Kirk Allen.
Kirk Allen, and then yep.
So that gives it an even nicer, really nice touch there too. So just love this movie.
Yeah, I actually watched the 3-hour TV cut the other night. If you have a chance to get your hand on that Blu-ray, I recommend it. Yeah, it's not as good a quality as the 4K, but it's got so much extra stuff in it, and there's little bits and pieces here and there that are just they add so much to the film and the characters, and they don't make them like that anymore. I mean, some of that stuff you're just like, how did they even cut this
Is
out?
it that one?
No, that's the Donner version, which is similar.
That's the Donner, yeah.
Yeah, so that's his cut down basically of the TV cut. So it has the most important stuff that he wanted in it. It's like
some extra stuff. 8 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then the TV cut is like a 3-hour cut. And then the credits are like 8 minutes. But like, yeah.
Yeah. The TV cut has George Ratzenberger asking what the heck's in New Jersey because there's tracking both missiles.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of get this whole, it actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Script, because I was thinking that the other night when I was watching, I'm like, gosh, this actually, if this version paints Miss Tessmacher as a little bit more of a bitch still, because the only reason she's doing this is because of her mother. She could give a shit otherwise. Like, yeah, she makes that almost abundantly clear in the TV version. Like, yeah. But then it still has the whole play out thing where she kisses Superman and all that kind of business. But you can still, like, in that version, it still paints her as a bit more of a, because even during the other stuff, because all the stuff with Lex and her and Ned Beatty are all kind of elongated and extra. There's a lot of extra bits and pieces here and there, and some of that stuff's really good too.
Superman rescues her from a pit of lions that we hear.
Yeah. Have you fed the babies yet? Feed the babies. Anyway, you wanted me to tell the Mario Puzo story before we get to Greg and Brian real quick. So Mario got the job to do this, and he got paid a lot of money to do this. And that's all they wanted was so they could say on the poster, the writer of Godfather, Mario Puzo writing Superman, not Star Wars, Jesus. So Mario's like, all right, fine. And this is where I recommend anybody, if you haven't seen it yet, see The Offer. Because you get a real good idea of where Mario Puzo was probably when he gets to this point. And I believe that was a pretty good depiction of probably where he was. He was a gambler who was broke, and The Godfather came along at the right fucking time, at the right place, and he didn't do shit to write the script. That was all Francis Ford Coppola, while Puzo just sat around and did shit like ate, because he wasn't supposed to be eating all this junk food and all these other things, and just living the lifestyle while everybody else was doing all the work. So he basically, the story goes that when he got this gig right after that movie came out, he's like, all right, I better learn how to write a screenplay. since I'm going to have to do this now. And so he goes to the bookstore and he gets a book on writing screenplays. And he opens up the book, and on the first page it says, to write a screenplay, first go read The Godfather. He shuts the book and he fucking throws it in the trash. Then he proceeds to write a 500-page fucking story for Superman. Actually, it was like 530 some, wasn't it? Script, I can't remember, but it was huge.
He wrote. He wrote a massively long script for Superman. On top of that, there's a rumor that the reason the Newmans got involved to do the rewrite is that the head of Warner Brothers at the time, who I think was Ted Ashley, he loved The Godfather, but he actually decided to sit down and read the novel. And when he finished putting down the novel, and then he saw what Mario Puzo turned in, the rumor is, I said, we don't believe you wrote The Godfather. So we're going to get some other writers to come in and see if we can fix Superman.
Yeah. And he based a lot of his on that book that had come out in, what was it, the 40s? The Adventures of Superman, I think it was called originally, or something like that. It's talked about in documentaries and stuff like that, but he took most of the stuff right out of that book.
Yeah,
is my understanding. So that book is kind of the basis, more or less, for this movie. But anyway, Greg, you're closer to my age, so what was your first experience with Superman? And I know you're a huge Superman fan as well, probably even bigger than me, on par with Script. So go ahead.
Yeah, I actually did a video on my channel. It's called "This Movie Made Me," because this movie did made me. It's probably the first, if not the first, one of the first movies I ever vividly remember seeing when I was like 5 years old, sitting on the floor watching Superman. Yes, I knew who Superman was, but watching this movie just blew my little mind. I wanted to know everything about this character. I got into the comic books. It led me down a path to pretty much where I am today with everything I like with movies and sci-fi and horror and everything. These movies led to all that from the first movie onwards. And yes, to me, to this day, much like you, Tom, Christopher Reeve is Superman. If I hear the name Christopher Reeve, I immediately think Superman, period. That's all, that he encapsulates it. Just seeing him and the lines, I've never been able to use a Superman line to pick up a woman, so I wish I could, but yes, quotes of daily.
He's just sitting there waiting for his moment, watching for women to fall.
Yeah, I've got you.
Don't worry, miss, I've got you.
Yes. I got you.
Nailed it.
Hey, Jack, that's a bad outfit. I've been told that before, but not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
No, but I related to this character because, I'm a nerd. I've probably said I'm a nerd and everything. I wear glasses, and I've always seen something in this. People always talk about how Superman is this unrelatable character. He's too powerful. He can do this. He do this. He's so boring. He can't do. I've always felt the opposite. I've always thought he was this incredible character. He clearly is a nerd, but he has this great power within him where he just wants to do good. He's very human, and I do think people often forget that Superman, yes, he's an alien from whatever, but he's very human. He was raised on a farm in America by human parents, and when he loses his dad, when the great scene that you guys talked about earlier, when his dad grabs on, he's like, oh God, and he just falls down and he can't save his dad, and so that really resonates with his character and everything, and resonated with me. And just knowing that there's somebody who wore glasses, who was who's kind of smart, is smart, and likes to read and help people and tries to be super, do good things. That was I relate to that on an everyday basis. So I was always much more in Superman. I got into the comics. I wanted to know everything about it. The movie blew my mind, and I've loved it ever since. And I've watched it religiously, probably almost every year. I'll do a watch of the first movie, and it will be an A+ forever. Yes, I agree with that 100%. He is the epitome of what a man of masculinity is, because he's this very sympathetic character. He grew up on the farm. He works in the city, and he saves people, right? He does everything a man should do. So I love it. I love the scene. And I one of my favorite scenes, and I know we talk about how he's with the helicopter scene is great and everything. And it's not even a scene with Christopher Reeve, but it's the scene where he in the beginning where he runs from the football field to his house, and his dad talks to him. He goes, just because you can do these things and showboating and stuff, I thought that was a great scene when it really gives who Superman is and where he's coming from. And then he's got these two sides with Jor-El and his dad and his parents and stuff like that. And then of course Lois Lane, I think Margot Kidder was incredible as Lois Lane. I really enjoyed her characterization, and the fact is there two L's in whatever, I can't even
there's only one P in rapist.
One P in rapist, yeah.
There's no Z in Brazier.
I love that. I love that because yes, she is the quintessential
that banter
reporter.
in the fucking Daily Planet is
Right?
so super. And Script and I
So
did
good.
the Tom and Terry thingy or whatever you want to call it on Superman a little while back, and we were noticing how in that, especially that intro scene into the Daily Planet, how it's all one shot.
Oh, you mean
And I
the one
never
right before the
noticed that
helicopter
before.
Rescue? Yeah, that is all.
Yeah,
one shot.
that whole thing that goes through that
Yeah.
whole one shot, and you're just like, holy shit. Nobody ever talks about this either. Everybody
Yeah.
talks about, all these other movies that have these one take, scenes between Halloween and all the classics. But nobody
Yep.
ever talks about how great that scene was shot. And it's just all one complete shot. And you're like, all the stuff that had to be orchestrated in that scene and the banter and how it goes back and forth and everything that's going on and the chaoticness. And it's just like, God, Donner does not get enough credit. And you can see a lot of that carry over into his Lethal Weapon movies. He was able to do that kind of shit in the police precinct too and make it feel real that way.
Yeah,
And-
but the brilliance is that one take, you don't even realize it's one take. It's
No.
so well done.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It is great.
No, it's-
The only
Great
problem I have with
directing.
the movie, and again, then I get Brian, and then we'll get to Brian here, because He's been so quiet and patient because I'm going to move up Superman.
I'm not getting any younger, you know.
I know. That's why I'm thinking about moving Superman 4 up just
Did you
for
just
you.
lose all your hair?
I've
just
got a
that
great wig
fucking
though.
ending.
I've got a Gene Hackman wig.
That fucking ending of the movie. If I don't know whose idea it was to turn the Earth backwards or go back in time, however you want to put it, it feels like such a cop out and like you screwed it all up. And you can still re-edit the movie to where it doesn't happen that way. And I'll get back into that when we get to the Donner cut. But Brian, again, you're older than shit. So you were like 82 when this movie came out, right?
Yeah. So the ending notwithstanding, this is obviously a magnificent movie. I was 15, nearly 16 when this came out, and saw it in the cinema. Saw it several times in the cinema with a bunch of friends. And I was just blown away. It was magnificent. If you think, I mean, I know I'm getting nostalgic now because I'm older, but there was a golden era. We had Star Wars, we had Jaws, we had Superman, not to mention all the other great movies of that era.
King Kong
Epic,
and all that shit.
all these epic, like even going a little further back, The Godfather 1 and 2. And hell,
Right.
even Animal House was out in 78, you know.
That's
It
true.
just was such a wonderful era, and it was just like, here's another magnificent movie. It's so exciting to see. Had such great heart. Christopher Reeve is magnificent. Gene Hackman's wig is fantastic. It's possibly the best, finest wig up
It
to
does
that
do
point.
some of the best acting.
It does do some of the best acting. And, you know, Gene Hackman, as his Lex Luthor, I mean, it's inspired casting, but his Lex Luthor is like the ultimate used car salesman. I say that as a son of a used car salesman. And his real estate scam in this one was much better because it's getting rid of California. So, you know, that one could actually happen in reality. So everything about it was, apart from the silly physics breaking ending, is just gorgeous, and the score is magnificent.
Oh God, yes.
The effects. I mean, just the score alone. You can just listen to that score without watching the movie, and you can picture everything that's going on. I only discovered recently that I've actually got a relative that I didn't know about. It's like a second cousin that did the visual effects on this movie, uncredited.
Oh, really?
But worked on the visual effects. They are credited for it now. They weren't at the time. So I'm trying to reach out to that person and say, you know, be nice to talk to you.
I actually may be related to George Reeves, actually.
All right, there you go. But yeah, I just can't. I mean, there's no universe where this movie wouldn't be mentioned and I wouldn't say, well, that's an A plus. There's no universe that wouldn't happen. It's magnificent, and it's everything that I think movies should be: entertaining, inspiring, funny, dramatic. It's got it all. Even very nicely sets up the second movie without being without overly doing it. It has the seeds of the second movie in it because of Terrence Stamp, etc. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, great movie. Can't say enough about it. It's just the heart and the humor and the effects, magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I mean, we've all said so much about this. We've talked about this movie in various ways, and so many times. And I mean, the one thing I guess I want to say before we move on to Superman 4 or 2, whichever one we decide to go to next. Because I don't know how much longer it is before Brian's bedtime.
He is old.
He is a little old.
I'm very, 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 very old.
Well, speaking of that, like
It's still in full working order, though.
True.
Well maintained.
We did lose Gene Hackman more recently, and that was a sad situation. And man, just his performance in this film is so good. And he's got some great quotable lines, and just his performance, even though he kind of didn't want to do it at first, it really shines through. And just the whole land, like you said, like it actually is a good scheme in a way. And what's funny is, like, in the TV cut that I was talking about, you find out where the whole thing with two missiles comes from, because they're not real clear on that in the theatrical version. Because what happens was Otis went in and he fucked up and he put the wrong numbers in. Sorry, Mr. Luthor, my arm wasn't long enough. You want to see a long arm? You want to see a really long arm? So then Miss Tessmacher has to go back in and she resets a different bomb because they have 2 missiles that are going off at the same time. So they make it look like it's just one bomb in the movie, which makes it makes no sense in the theatrical cut. That's one thing that I was like always questioning. And I'm so glad that I got to see that in the TV cut again because it's been a while since I watched it. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes more sense now because there's actually 2 different bombs, and so this whole scheme and plot that he has, right? So it's actually Otis's fault that the other one's going to Hackensack, New Jersey.
And it's kind of ironic that it's going to the very place that Miss Tessmacher's mother lives.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but like, I love his whole speech, where he's like, Miss Tessmacher, when I was 6 years old, my father said to me, get out. For that. Said, son, stocks may rise and fall, utilities and transportation systems will collapse, but people are no damn good. They'll always need land, and they'll pay through the nose to get it. Remember, my father said, land. Why am I not reading my paper yet, Otis?
I haven't given it to you yet. You were followed again, despite those cat-like reflexes.
Hard to believe with those cat-like reflexes.
I love when he says you were followed again. He turns around, knocks over the lamp, and he's looking behind him.
Hard to believe with those cat-like reflexes. Yeah.
It's so good.
You know what 200 means to you and me, Otis? It's your weight and my IQ.
Next time, bring me my
mind of our time, surround himself with complete nincompoops.
Doesn't it give you a thrill?
Let's be in the same my presence.
Next time, bring me my robe after I'm out of the pool.
Poor guy.
We have a great underground. I mean, even like we know, like Lex Luthor likes to have the penthouse in the sky in the comics and everything, but like he really had a great underground penthouse.
That underground layer, yeah,
is great. Yeah.
Well,
how many girls you know have an address like this on Park Avenue?
200 feet below.
I got to unfortunately head out now, Tom. But okay, yeah, your show's starting here, so we'll send everybody over there. But go ahead and plug it, and welcome back, Professor R2. By the way. Oh, R2 is back, but I did put in the private. I did put in Clobby talking about the next Superman film. If it would be a surprise to anyone, if you want to play that later. And I guess I could give you my ratings for the next 2 real quick, so we have. Okay, I'm gonna play this. So go ahead and put those in the back, and then I'll put them in the back. Yep. I'll play this on the way out. Get some volume here. Oh,
you react too strongly to the Superman movies and stuff like that. I'm going, not really, because let's face it. For me personally, other than the first film in 1978, which I love, I'm highly critical of the second one. We all Superman 3 and 2. Oh my God, Superman Returns. Man of Steel. So really, yeah, it would not. If they do another clunker of a Superman movie, would anyone really be that surprised? Thank you for that. And with that, check out the Geek Speak in just a little bit here over on Geekery. I might try to pop in there if I still have the gas to go. All right. R2, I think, jumps in sometimes if his internet's working with him. All are welcome. But thanks for having me. We'll catch you guys soon. And everyone, I hope, enjoys Superman on Tuesday because I got my Amazon Prime ticket. So
same here.
Looking forward to seeing it Tuesday night. And God, I hope it's good. All right. Catch you all later.
See you, Mark. Everyone. See you later.
All right.
Take care, Mark.
Take care, buddy.
Mark pulled out and Professor R2
Professor pulled in.
Yeah.
All right.
And hopefully my internet decides to cooperate now.
Yeah. That would be nice. So let's see what we got for super chats here while we're getting ready to move on here. We got Stone Gaspin who says, understand completely why you didn't include Hollywoodland, starring Ben Affleck as George Reeves and Diane Lane as Tony Mannix. I love that movie. It's a good movie. I already knew why he said Martha. What grade would you give it? It's really good. Go ahead.
Well, it's a good movie, but it's also there's a little fun fact about it. So before it was called Hollywoodland, it was called Truth, Justice, and the American Way. But that's right. It wasn't being made by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers had the trademark on that. Or at least, Warner Brothers thought they had the trademark on that. And when it was getting shopped around, and they realized that it was, I think it was Universal was going to be doing it, they Warner Brothers quickly had to.
It
file
ended up at Disney eventually, but yeah.
Yeah, Warner Brothers had to actually officially file for the trademark for Truth, Justice, and the American Way. It's because they knew that if another studio got that title, they would own that trademark. The title associated with it, with that film. And Warner Brothers didn't want to have to pay another company rights to use that phrase if they so chose to use it in a future production. But Hollywood Blend, it's a good film. Don't take it as like the real story.
It's got some. It takes a lot of liberties.
Yeah,
It's still pretty good.
Yeah, but it's a nice kind of like conspiratorial kind of look at it, and you know, Ben actually looks really good as Superman.
He did.
We missed out on a chance at him possibly being Superman when he was younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how everybody would rate it, but I would put it in like that 7 out of 10 ish percentile. It's pretty good.
It's worth a watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Kino Lorber has it on Blu-ray.
Nice. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I think was it Touchstone or Hollywood Pictures, but anyways, one of Disney's companies ended up picking it up. But, Weinstein. One of those, I think. Was it Weinstein or was it one of the other ones?
I can't remember.
Cannot recall.
Should be on that Blu-ray you've got there.
I know I'm looking, but I'm old. I don't see Weinstein's
Miramax?
name.
Miramax?
It is a Miramax, so they must have picked it up, but I don't think they produced it. I think it was a pickup. Because I don't see Weinstein's names anywhere on here.
I'm just looking it up now. Backlot Pictures production company. Backlot.
Yeah, I think Focus. Actually, you're right. So Script was right. It started over at Universal. Miramax just must have did the distribution on it. So actually, in now Universal actually owns it. They must have got the rights back after, because the original video was released by Miramax. But it comes because before then, Focus didn't. I don't think they had a home, because then Universal bought them. What was it? Mid early aughts. Because I want to say one of their first big releases through there was like Seed of Chucky.
Yeah, that sounds right.
After Universal bought them, because then Universal started using them as kind of a indie / horror label.
Yeah.
There you go. Little history for you. Hope you like that, Stone. Webster, Jason in the house says Christopher Reeve perfectly portrayed Superman. We agree.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Webster also says the exchange between Gene Hackman's Lex and Ned Betty's Otis were comedy gold. Abso-fucking-lutely. Dr. Jones says currently working on a supercut of the Donner Lester version of Superman 2 for personal use, of course. Hey, if you've got access, let me talk to you about this, because this is something I would love to do. Because there is the perfect cut where you can get rid of the Earth going backwards shit. You literally just cut it up to the part where Lois runs out of gas, and then you cut out everything after that, up to him just flying back to Lois, where she's just bitching about running out of gas, and he's just kind of laughing at her, because Superman would do that, because she knows and he knows, and she eventually comes around, she's like, yeah, you're busy, obviously, saving the world, duh. You know, like, that's the joke at that moment. You don't have to have the... And I know, you end up losing Lois dying, and the whole him screaming and flying up into outer space, but guess what? I'd sacrifice that to just jump into part 2, where you cut in the scene that they have already in the Donner cut, where he blows up the Phantom Zone thing with them guys with one of the missiles, because you actually have the extra missile footage in the TV cut. But if you have the ending, the TV ending, and the TV stuff from Superman 2 that goes along with the Donner cut, I'm throttling at the mouth now if you have it in good quality, because I would love to slap the TV ending on Superman 2.
Oh,
and
not even just the TV ending. Make the ending where Superman leaves Lois Lane in tears on the terrace and just cut it that way. Where she's
one or the other, I don't care. Yeah, just none of the going back in time bullshit.
Or the kiss, that's amnesia kiss stuff, because that's
either one of those I'm fine with. Because then you also have to get rid of the going back to the diner scene as well. I don't know why that's in the Donner cut.
Yeah,
it makes absolutely no sense that it's there.
I mean, it makes sense in the Lester cut because he doesn't go back in time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, did Donner even fucking shoot this? Like, I don't... He must have, because a lot of Lois's stuff was shot during, like, that's another thing I found out more recently was since she was on the outs with the Salkinds and all that kind of crap and didn't want to work around Pierre and all that stuff, whatever his name is.
Well, Richard
Spangler.
Lester, yeah.
Richard Lester didn't like either. She didn't like, so she barely shot anything for part 2. Most of the shit that she shot was the Niagara Falls stuff, the stuff in Paris. So it's very plausible Donner shot all that stuff.
3 scenes. Paris, Daily Planet,
the Daily Planet. You're right. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, no, but you got the other ones right too. The Niagara Falls stuff, the Daily Planet, and the Paris set were the 3 big things that she did, and that was basically it. Yeah,
because she was pretty much out the door after that, which was funny because during Superman 3, she was dating Richard Pryor, so he was on the set while she was waiting back in the hotel room most of the time because she only shot 2 scenes for Superman 3.
Yeah, she did them both, I think.
In the same day, basically, or 2 days or whatever, yeah.
Yep, and...
her leaving and coming back, that's it.
her leaving and coming back to Bermuda.
Bermuda.
Well, the thing, the reason there's this huge issue with Donner leaving for Superman 2 is because nobody told Donner he was directing 2 movies at the same time.
Yep.
They told him at the beginning that it was just going to be a big epic. And then while he had a few shots he had to get for the first half of Superman to get finished, and then had about 60% of Superman 2 to get finished, but he didn't know it was going to be Superman 2. He thought it was all just going to be a big epic Superman movie, 3.5 hour type of thing, like The Godfather. And then he finds out through the Salkinds, oh no, we're taking the ending and we're going to put it in midway part. And we're going to release that as Superman for 79, because the original target date was 80. And Donner was like, wait a minute, I'm directing 2 movies. And he's like, well, no, we're just breaking it up. It's like, but now I'm directing 2 movies, so you got to pay me for 2 films.
Yeah, and that's where things started to fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Guild, I think, even got involved at one point too, didn't they? I think.
Yeah, they basically said, well, if you want Richard Lester to take over directing stuff, he has to direct more than 50% of the final product of the film. And so,
which is why he reshot a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Salkinds end up having to spend another like 15% of the budget to reshoot extra stuff that Donner had already done.
And that's where the Paris sequence and some other business came into play. Yeah.
The Paris sequence. I mean, the scene that he really liked, that he didn't quite finish, was when Lois jumps out of the Daily Planet to prove that Clark is Superman.
Which is in the Donner cut now because they were able to finish it with modern effects. But back then,
but they had to get in a stunt double to basically do a Clark line at the end saying like.
And didn't Singer shoot a couple things for that, or somebody while they were, because like I swear there's like, because I think you're right. It's more of a, they shot something like a couple of shots of her falling through things that wasn't Margot Kidder, obviously, or her stunt person at the time. I think it was actually shot.
It was a new stunt person, yeah, I think.
Yeah, at the same time as Superman Returns is what I was getting at, but yeah. Could very well be, because I know they had to do some patchwork. The thing with the Donner cut, and we might as well move on to that since it's the next one I have in line here. I love it. I love it to death. It's got a few flaws. And we'll get back to the super chats, guys. I know you guys have been waiting patiently. Actually, let's finish them up, to be fair.
Sure.
And Max says, Christopher Reeve's facial expressions were perfect as Superman. You always felt his emotions, and he was the best. I agree. I don't think anybody would argue with that. And then Deadman said, Superman is by far my favorite superhero, and I had very similar experience with the 78 movie. I had the PJs when I was 5. Who didn't have those PJs?
Right.
And we were all Superman when we put those sons of bitches on, too.
Bro, I
could
put on
fly.
Garbage
bag
adrenaline
that pumped through your body when you wore those.
You could fly through the house quicker than anybody.
Grab either a blanket or a garbage bag, tie it around like a cape, and just jump off the couch, and my mom scream at me. So.
Yep. Or you're stupid like me, and you go climb up the neighbor's fucking guardrail on their fucking porch, and you jump off there and break your nose.
Oh,
5. Broke my nose. No shit.
Man.
Superman's fault.
Ain't my fault. Superman told me to do it.
He made me believe a man could fly.
Yeah, he did. He made me fucking believe I could do it.
Up
So
and
yeah, so
away.
the Donner cut, as we were kind of alluding to, was one of the most sought after and asked for things in the history of movies. Like, people have been talking about this mythic cut of the film, because it wasn't just so much that it was the scenes that were in the TV cut which we'd all seen over the years. There was all these other sequences, like Script was talking about, where Lois tests Superman, or tests Clark, sorry, not Superman, to see that he's Superman earlier in the film, and other things that were completely excised, and they added the whole new beginning and the stuff in with the honeymoon suite, which is just fucking god awful.
Again, Richard Lester thinks of himself as a satirist, and he's not really good at it.
Yeah, and look, as a kid, I fucking loved Superman 2, but as an adult, the Lester version is almost unwatchable. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that. Right now, we're talking about the Donner cut. If you cut out that fucking ending and the part where he goes back to the diner, it's almost perfect. Because it feels like a complete extension of the first film, because it was shot at the same time as the first film.
Yeah.
And with Donner's tone, it's like, yes, now you've got the pitch perfect right in this movie, right? Sure, it has some of the silliness in there from the Lester cut because they had to use some of the scenes. And as I was getting to before, Donner wasn't actually present for this cut. He did not want to really be in the room that often. He watched sequences as they were finished up, but it was even reported by the guy, I can't remember his name, who actually did put this cut together, that if any Lester scenes came up, he would leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they did use some of Lester's alternate stuff just so they could fill in some of the gaps, because I think the moon landing and stuff like that hadn't been shot yet, and some other stuff. But because basically when the clock was starting to run out on the film, they basically forced Donner to finish anything that had anything to do with, because they only had Hackman for a certain amount of time. Brando was initially supposed to be in both films, but that was a whole nother story when we get to that. And so that shit had to be shot, and anything that was at the Daily Planet had to be shot, and all these things that had to do with Gene Hackman and other people that were only there for a certain amount of time. So he got forced to just bum rushing all that shit, basically. So he shot anything that's got Gene Hackman in it from part two is him. That's definitely a Donner shot. But beyond that, it's a mixture of both throughout the film because of the reshoots. And that's why Gene Hackman also has a really bad voiceover actor.
Uh-huh. They even did the same thing with Sarah Douglas. Some of her original dialogue is redubbed by someone else who's...
Although she was there, like but yeah. And now I'm curious, like, because when... What's-his-face who played Non was being a dick, was that during the Lester reshoots?
I can't remember.
Or was that during Donner's time?
I thought he was being a jerk for the entire production that he was on.
Because I just wanted to talk about the famous story where Terrence Stamp was talking about how he became Zod. He kind of had to just kind of take these guys, and especially a guy like what the hell's his real name? The guy who played Non.
God, I can't remember.
I know his name too, and it's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, he was being belligerent and wasn't going to come on the set for some dumb fucking reason. And Terrence, he's like, and I couldn't believe I did this. He goes, I just turned into Zod. And he screamed his name. He's like, you bastard! How dare you make us wait?
Is it Mark McClure? Mark
McClure. No, that's the guy who plays...
That's Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, that's Jimmy Olsen. Jack O'Halloran.
Jack, you bastard! How dare you make us wait? He goes, and he did it in his best, like fucking Zod voice. And all of a sudden there was just quiet on the set. And Jack comes out quietly from his trailer going, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. And then this guy's like fucking 5 feet taller than him too.
Yeah. Huge.
So he's like, I just commanded their presence. Like he would just treat them like, they were his two subordinates. And they did it. That's what he said. So like he always got Jack under control, because I guess Jack was a bit of a pain in the ass to work with. So, but yeah, Superman 2. Where would you guys rate this? Because I love this movie. I will defend it to the end of the time. Although I do feel like there's a better cut yet to be made between an ultimate cut of like a epic 4-hour movie cut together, both movies, without that stupid ending on either one of them. I think it's possible, but as is, I'd say it's at least an A.
I mean, I absolutely loved it at the time, and Terrence Stamp is magnificent. I'm a big Terrence Stamp fan, and he was so good in this.
He put his stamp on it, that's for
sure. He did put his stamp on it. I mean, then obviously we had the Donner stuff later, but I actually enjoyed the original at the time. Still kind of love it, Thought it was a lot of fun.
Is true.
Although I still have like the first movie with the physics breaking time reversal. I have a real problem with Clark Kent walking back from the Arctic Circle through northern Canada. Like he's no
Well,
longer a
that's because-
Superman. How
That's
long would
because
that
he's
take
not
him?
actually at the North Pole. It's just above Canada. It's
That's
just
a lot. That's thousands
the
of
North Pole.
miles
We
of land.
Technically own the North Pole.
Exactly.
yeah,
There's
it's just there
thousands of
somewhere.
miles
It's
of
not that
tundra.
far away from Canada. It's just nobody ever goes up there.
Like really, he really did that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a
mean,
little hard to believe.
For a guy that grew up in Kansas and has been turned human, that is pretty impressive to be able to
It
weather
is.
that temperature north of 60.
That's very impressive. Yeah. And he just happens to chance upon the one and only diner up there. That's just by pure
And
luck.
then, Clayton Von Isaacs is right. If he's right here, then it would have been during Donner's, because that's the other stuff that was shot during Donner's was the White House stuff. That's right.
Yep.
So, all right, Superman 2. I'll put it in the A. What about you, Script?
Wait, this is Superman 2 Lester or Donner?
Donner cut.
Donner cut? Yeah, I'll put that into the A because even though it's got a little bit of a scrappiness to it for putting together like test footage and whatnot,
Right.
it's still a coherent story. And it is more of Richard Donner's initial intention than what fate sadly left us with for a few decades. So yeah, it's a solid A.
Sorry, yes, I should have said it. I was going to put the Donner in the A.
Yep, that's
and
all right.
the A, and
I was going to come
the
back around
the
to
Leicester in the B, but
well, if you want to go ahead and do that one now, that's fine too. I'll put both of them here. But
That was a good time to put it in there.
Brian is a A and a B, you said?
yeah.
Okay. And then what about you, Greg? What do you put for the Donner cut?
Oh, I put the Donner cut in A. Put it in A. Much like you, my only complaints are him going back and beating up that guy for no reason. The time travel, like you said, there's still a better cut of this movie to be seen. But yeah, I put this as an A. I really do enjoy the direction that this went and seeing what was supposed to be more or less the Donner version of the sequel.
All they got to do is release the TV cut of this version too, and we could have the epic 6-hour version of these two movies put together.
And I'm so tired of people saying, "Well, he killed Zod in Superman 2." It's like, no,
he didn't.
No,
They
he
got arrested
didn't.
by the
He
Arctic
didn't.
police.
The Arctic
I know.
police, damn it!
I know. And I'm
Right.
like, just show that shit so people would stop complaining and stop saying that because he didn't. He doesn't.
So you're saying an A then?
Yes, an A.
An A. All right. Nick, have you seen this one? I don't know if we've ever asked you if
I
you've seen the
have.
Donner cut. Okay,
I
cool.
have
What'd you think of
seen
it?
I enjoyed it. I get a really strong B plus, maybe A minus, but I'll settle at B. But it's great. I enjoy it. It's been a bit since I've seen it, but I love it.
All right.
I'll keep it
And then
simple since you guys.
No,
have-
you're fine. You're fine. Whatever you want to say on it, Nick. Anything more you want to say on the Donner cut since you're the comic book guy?
Oh God, no! I got really nothing significant to add to this that hasn't already been said. Obviously, it's overall improved. There's a few nitpicks, but nothing that's like, oh no, how will I survive? I really enjoy it, and you know what? And maybe because it was the kid in me at the time, I enjoyed Superman 2 as a kid. But obviously, I definitely recognize the movie more now for what it is later on in life. But then the director's cut brought me back, so it didn't completely lose me. It was like somebody gave like a B minus C plus, but now I went straight up to the B plus A minus era.
All right.
So, yeah.
Fair enough. All right. R2.
Well, for the Donner cut, this when I saw this Donner cut was coming out, I was like, wow, I can't, because I had not heard anything about this being made. I was way too busy in school at the time, and then I was like, oh wow, hey, that will be awesome. I can't wait to see that. And it absolutely reignited my love for the second film. The original Lester version, I don't hate. But I really don't love it. It doesn't feel like it fits quite with the first movie. And I love the first movie. It's one of the best superhero films that's ever been made. And you get incredible performances, incredible score. And then the second one was just kind of like a little bit more of the same, but kind of different. And I don't know, just the Donner cut.
Everything is kind of cheapened in the second
version.
In the Lester cut. Yeah.
It feels cheap. Yeah. But the Donner cut is wonderful. Yeah, I know they had to do a lot of wild stuff. I've watched the documentaries and things that go along with it about how they were able to put this back together using like screen tests and all sorts of other stuff to make it all work. But I really enjoy the Donner cut. It's not perfect. You still have somebody throwing an S made of cellophane out at somebody else for some
I don't
reason.
think that's in the Donner
Is that
cut.
is that
No,
cut
that's
out?
only in the Lester cut.
Oh, is it
yeah.
only in the Lester cut? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, all that wacky stuff was removed. The only stuff
okay.
that's still in the Lester cut or the Donner cut that I still think, besides the diner scene, that is silly Lester stuff that I think shouldn't be in it is when Ursa gets bit by the snake, she shouldn't say "ow."
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Yeah.
Just little
yeah.
shit like that is still in there, but other than that, yeah.
But yeah, the Donner cut is great, and it feels much more a part of the original film. And yes, I am totally with you. I want to see the Superman saga version of these two films merged together into a single, epic production. That would be awesome. But the Donner cut, definitely putting that in the A.
And honestly, in the Donner cut, they might have took her out. I think she just throws him and goes, ugh, like that. Honestly, they might have taken it down a bit. I have to rewatch it again. It's been
I'd have to
years
rewatch
since
it.
I watched
Yeah, it's
it.
been a
I got
few
the 4K, but no, I just watched it last year, so I'm trying to remember. Watched both versions, actually. So there you go. All right, so what would you give it?
Yeah, give it an A. Lester would
all
be
right.
a B.
All right, and a B on Lester when we get there. All right, let's see here. We didn't get Mark's yet, but he's gone, and I think we got everybody else's. So my turn. I'm going to give it an A. Yeah, there we go. I think did I miss anybody? Everybody
Mark
got
left an A in the chat.
Yeah, so
in
he
the
did
private
A.
chat.
Yeah, I got that written down here. So yeah, I guess we're gonna go with an A on that since they were mostly A's, only like 2 B's.
Yeah.
Or no, Brian gave it a B too. Ooh, so that take it down
Yeah.
to B. So we got 1, 2,
So which one? I
3,
I gave
4
the
A's,
Lester cut a B.
Yeah. the
4
same
A's and
giver.
3 B's. So I think A will take that. Yeah, we'll give it to A. All right, so then the Lester cut. Yeah, so we've already talked a little bit about it, but like, yeah, like you guys said, you know what's even funny is like it's so cheap. R2, like even the orchestra, they literally have like a half orchestra
Oh,
compared
yeah.
to what they had in the first movie.
The incredible score is completely gone. It's
Butchered
completely
by-
wasted
yeah.
in the second film because in that first, literally, the Superman score is one of my favorite scores of all time. I love that score. And the second film, it's just gone, and it's replaced with what is this? I don't
It's
know.
almost like a TV quality version of it, and it is because they basically had like a TV orchestra because it's instead of having the
And Thorne.
full.
Yeah.
What were you saying? Script score.
The score for Superman 2 was done by Ken Thorne, and he didn't have a whole lot of time to actually
No.
compose anything. So he also like you said, he didn't have a full orchestra either. You can tell, and it wasn't mixed well even for the final product. So
Oh hell no, no! The fucking sound on 2 is horrible. Oh, because 2 was thrown together so piss poorly last minute. It felt like, and it was kind of because it came out I think at the very tail end of 80 in the UK and 81 in the US. It came out in the summertime I think, and it was just. Looking back on it as a kid, I fucking love this movie. But here's the other thing: is I grew up with the TV cut through most of my life and didn't realize it
Same.
until later.
Yeah,
Same thing with the first
same
movie.
thing here.
Yes, I think it was Tom for me. TBS, I think.
Maybe, but like I was seeing them on ABC and stuff when they were still in
Yeah.
technically first run reruns and all that business, where they would still run it on the 2 nights and it would show for, like I said, 3 hour. You know, it was a 3 hour cut basically of both films.
Yeah, that's
and
what
the
I grew
first time
up
I
on.
saw the theatrical cut of 1 was when they did that clamshell family home video release from Warner Brothers, and I plucked the movie in and I'm starting to watch it. I'm like, where's the movie? Because I think it was 13, 12 when that version came out. Help me out, Greg, because you probably have it. You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I have the VHS. I don't have the clamshell version.
But you know, okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I never
Yeah.
had the old one. I didn't get that one until then because I had it taped off of TV. So I just had that
Mm-hmm.
version for you. Same thing with 2. And then I think my cousins taped 3 and 4 off of HBO for me. So So I didn't have the TV cuts of those, but I did remember seeing the TV cut of 3, which is another one that is like 3 hours fucking long.
Yeah.
So, like, but yeah, so I don't know. Just as I grow up, as I got older and older, the less and less I liked Superman 2 because of all the nonsensical bullshit in it. And I'm so glad we got the Donner cut. So you guys all mostly gave the yeah, I'm going to have to go with a B. And that's being very generous to it.
Yeah.
And that's mostly for nostalgic value. So, all right, where do we want to go? How much time you got left, Brian? Because I know you're usually a little more limited.
No, I'm okay tonight.
Okay,
yeah, we're
okay.
good. We're good. Yeah.
So we'll save the bomb for last.
I will say that even in its crummy version, the Lester version, Superman 2 was still infinitely quotable. And
it's very charming, and it
had some very exactly. There was some charm there to the suit, which is why it's up there as a B.
Why
there
do you
was
say
still
these things when you know I will kill you
good.
for it?
Yes.
So this is Planet Houston.
Yes. Yes.
Planet Earth. It's like,
General, would you like to step outside?
Yeah.
Kneel before Zod.
What's that?
Neil.
Where he says, "God help us."
He's like,
Zod.
Zod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it a B for nostalgia reasons.
I was wanting to say you're right. I got you, Superman.
what do you want? Australia.
Australia.
See, that's where it gets you. Like with the Superman 2, most of what we
Luthor,
remember
King
is
of
Zod
Australia.
stuff. But like with the Donner cut, you think more of the it's like you said, it's a much more full story. You remember more of the Superman stuff, you remember more of the Zod stuff, and it comes full circle. With the Lester cut, it's mostly you think more about Zod than you do anything else in the movie. So yeah, I'll give it a B.
Wow, Neil. That kind of stuff closes down the town. Sorry, that's the second film is probably where Lex is even better.
Yes.
Than the first film.
The funny part about both versions is that Lex leaves Miss Tessmacher at the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Like, because she doesn't appear after she uses the washroom.
That's true. I never even thought about that. So she's been there the whole fucking time.
Like, she's probably still living there right now.
Wait, why didn't she just walk back from there?
Well, why would you want to leave? Why would you want to
What's wrong with
a
her?
beautiful place that's actually above ground for the first time in her life? The other part too is that when you see in the Donner version when Superman destroys the Fortress of Solitude, I'm still thinking, I think Miss Tessmacher's still inside that.
No. The Arctic Patrol took care of her.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get back into these super chats and then we'll get on with part 3 and 4. Jason Webster says, when relaxing between attempts to rule the world, General Zod wears iZod. Dressy casual clothing available at all good department stores. It's like those guys shopped at a leather store.
I thought that's where he listened to his music on iZod.
Yeah.
iZod is but he shops at Frederick's of Hollywood, I think. that fucking outfit, I tell you.
Yeah.
It's like they came up with one outfit for all 3 of them.
He's missing the ball gag, that's all.
And the only one it really looks good on is what's her face, Ursa. But and then we got that one. Okay, so then Stone Gaspin says during Superman 3's production, Margot Kidder was partying with and fucking Richard Pryor in a London hotel room. Yep. Can you imagine their conversations? Oh, I'm sure it was quite something. And in fact, I heard that from stories they had quite the tumultuous relationship.
Well, yeah,
so if you can,
Richard Pryor be doing way more drugs than anyone else.
Yeah, if you can imagine, yeah. And let's just say Richard, look, and I'm not making excuses for Richard. This is no excuse, but he had a very fucked up outlook on women because he was raised in a whorehouse.
Yeah.
So the way he viewed women was much different than the average person would, and he had a very hard. It was very difficult for him to have a standard
You
relationship.
say wood and hard in the same sentence.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to go in that direction, but I mean, I'm just kind of trying to say that he was an abusive jerk without saying he's an abusive jerk, I guess, because I wouldn't say he was abusive on the sense of like he was constantly beating her or anything like that, but he probably wasn't the most
cynical, I think was what you're trying to say. Very cynical, hard-bitten.
Yeah, didn't really treat women
Negative.
probably like
Yeah.
human beings.
Yeah.
But he didn't like abuse them. He loved women, but he just didn't quite know how to have a real relationship, I think is the problem. Does that make sense?
He saw them as only functional.
Sort of, but he did he had to have women around all the time. Because he grew up, the only woman he ever really felt close to, he didn't have a mother because his mother was a whore pretty much. I mean, he did, but he didn't really get close to her like he did. He bonded with his mother's madam, which eventually became his mother, basically, and his dad would be around once in a while. And it was kind of
tend to be at a whorehouse, yeah.
Well, he got forced into taking care of this kid because it was his kid. So I'm sure he didn't treat Richard the best either.
I mean, when you're told that the whore that you're sleeping with is pregnant, and you're like, "Are you sure it's mine?" Because I know she has other clients.
Right?
Yes.
That or she was already pregnant when she came to the whorehouse is my guess.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my probable assumption on that. But anyhow, Action Com says, Reeves, I failed. Speech works very well in the Lester cut. There's some things that do work in the Lester cut. Don't get me wrong. I think we gave it a fair shake. And then Action Com says, at script, what do you think of Lex Luthor's White House scene where he starts at the door and ends up at the president's desk intentional? Oh yeah, he's gunning right for that desk.
Sitting in the desk. Yeah, it's hysterical.
Yeah, that's where he's after, right there. And then Deadman says, Lex turning on Zod when it's convenient for him is hilarious. Well, not only that, what's better yet is that Superman knows that he will fuck him over and anticipates it.
Yeah. That is a great scene when Superman's here. Oh, thank God. I mean, get him.
But this is actually where Lex Luthor shows that he's not as smart as he appears to be, because he's negotiating with the Zod over control of Australia, and Australia's not a real place. So he should have known that.
Well, I would have thought he would have gone higher just for president while they're doing all the other stuff. He just handles the not dictator.
The bureaucracy.
The administration takes you. That's what I was looking for, the word. Yeah. But anyhow.
Someone's going to make the trains run on time.
That's right. Let's get to Superman 3, because now this is a movie that I have a feeling we're all going to debate a little bit, because I know where Script and I lie in this, and I kind of have a feeling where Greg does. The rest of y'all, I'm not so sure. Maybe Nick, I think we've talked about this before, but I will stand up for Superman 3. It gets so much shit and flack when it is probably the most comic booky of all the Superman movies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it has all the elements that a comic book would have. And I know a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but it has Richard Pryor. And it's like, you do realize that Muhammad Ali was in a Superman comic once, right?
Yeah.
Kiss actually put their blood into the ink of a comic once. Like, having guest stars in a comic is nothing new. So to me, this just feels like it was this week or this month, Richard Pryor's in our story, right? Which is hilarious because the comic book adaptation of this looks nothing like Richard Pryor.
Yes, I have that.
Yeah. I have it too. Yeah. So anyway, I have a secret special love for this film. To me, I feel like it in some ways is better than the Lester cut of Superman 2. It is a much more coherent, less wacky fucking movie in a sense that it doesn't fall into a lot of the stupid shit. I think the only time that it does is when Superman just starts running and he fucking turns into Superman at one point, I think that's the only other thing that like is closely remotely to that dumb shit from the Lester version.
Oh yeah, you're talking about when he's running to save Ricky in Kansas. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, he just starts running and turns into, because they had it in 2 as well, where they just kind of gave up on this whole thing where he's going to change and he just kind of runs and starts turning into Superman. I think that's one time in part 3. Other than that, they don't have any of the wackiness so much in part 3. The wackiness is reserved for Richard Pryor, right? Like,
yeah, but I mean, that's a double-edged sword because it really becomes a Richard Pryor movie,
which I'm okay with.
Time.
But it also has this great stuff in Smallville, and then you have the bad guys, which aren't Lex Luthor, right? So we actually get
Robert Vaughn's not great, I don't think.
But he is playing essentially Lex Luthor. Yeah.
He is, but I don't care. I love Robert Vaughn in this movie. I love his sister. Okay, fine, Brian. You're going to be one of the negative ones on this.
I like Pamela Stevenson as Lorelai is pretty awesome because Pamela Stevenson is gorgeous.
She is Billy Connolly's wife, isn't she?
Yeah.
She married Scottish comedian Billy Connolly. They got been married for a long time.
So.
Yeah.
And she has great scenes where she's like, she plays the dumb blonde, but she's actually really smart. So
Yeah, she's the masseuse, but
Yeah.
she's not really a masseuse.
yeah. And her and Superman get a little action together in that movie. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what can you say? I do enjoy the when Robert Vaughn's sister becomes a robot. That is like the stuff of nightmares. That is a great scene. I do enjoy the Superman versus Clark Kent scene when he becomes like Dark Superman and then he separates himself. Like much like Tom said, it's very comic booky. That is very comic booky. And then you get to meet Lana Lang, played by Annette O'Toole, and he gets to like Smallville and stuff, right? Yeah,
Oh, boy, yeah.
yeah.
You know what's great is you also have the different dichotomy there, which most people overlook, is that she doesn't give a shit about Superman.
Yes,
She loves Clark Kent.
Yes, yes.
So this is the first time he's actually been with somebody who actually just loves Clark Kent for who he is. And like when Superman shows up, she's kind of almost ambivalent to him, like the opposite of Lois. So like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because she's so worried about her kid too. I mean, her priorities are in the right part. But the brilliance that Superman 3 has is when Lois returns at the end, she's impressed with Clark's article that she actually asks him out on a date, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm going out on a date with Mr. White's new secretary, which happens to be Lana Lang."
And this is where the shit from part 2 actually pays off better, because you get the shit with Brad. And where I love is where Clark keeps getting Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he keeps fucking with him in some way, shape, or form, no matter what it is. And especially at the end, he finally gets him a real good one with the cart and all that business. And I just love how he just fucks over Brad real good.
Well, Brad
It's
doesn't
one of
have
the
a
few-
shot anyways. He's just so drunk.
No, but it's one of the few
Yeah.
times Clark is actually using his powers for selfish reasons, and you're kind of like, you know what? I'm okay with it.
I mean, you get to see a little more human side of Clark in this one than you do in the first two. So, because like, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's got some funny lines. Like, for instance, like whenever Lana sees Brad, like at the birthday party that Ricky's been invited to, she goes, "Oh my God, he's here, and he's already. It's not even 2 p.m. and he's stewed to the gills." And Clark's like, well, "I don't know. He only had chocolate milk." She's like, "No, not."
There is some great line. Like, I mean, this is where
Yes.
because didn't what's their faces come back and write this one too?
David and Leslie Newsman, yeah.
This is
The
where they
Newmans,
actually
yeah.
shine. Yes, the Newmans actually shine in this one, and it's
Newman.
built that way, right? Like the movie is, and I know this is some people hate this, but it's like I remind them, it's like you guys do know that most people's favorite Star Trek movie besides Wrath of Khan is the comedy one, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. It's the exact. They just went at it with a comedic tone. That's the only difference.
I do remember at the time it did puzzle me a bit when I went to see it in the cinema. I thought this feels very different from the other
And that's fair.
two.
And I can understand how that could be jarring.
Couldn't quite. I said, this is a comedy. I was finding it struggling to kind of reconcile it in my head with what it wasn't what I was expecting when I watched it.
Well, double dumbass on you.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Richard Pryor does one of the best jump scares of his own reflection when he's drunk that I've ever seen on film.
Oh, Richard's on fire in this fucking movie.
It's like,
Considering
you don't
he
get passed
can't
out,
use
do you?
the F
Nope.
word,
Yeah,
and he can't use the N word, and he can't use the S word,
can't use
and he
any
can't use
foul
the
language.
D word. Need I go on? Like he is firing on all cylinders here without being able to use his best arsenal, right? Like he is, and he does not get enough credit because that whole scene with Brad where those two are drinking is fucking comedy gold. Like, oh, I'm in big trouble. You know what I mean? Like, I was supposed to be in here earlier today, and the boss is gonna be PO'd, if you know what I'm getting at. If I don't get this set up tonight. You know, like the whole thing.
Sling is missing vodka. It's like there's no vodka in Singapore Sling. Well, then that's
what's wrong with it.
It's great.
Superman, or half this country nearly bought the bullet this weekend. It wasn't for this man right here.
Chemical for your well-shaped behinds.
You know that thing in the special ingredient in the chicken that they don't know what it is. Well, it's the same thing here. There's this ingredient, it didn't know what it is, and it's unknown. See, it's unknown.
I asked you to do one simple thing and kill Superman, and you couldn't even do that. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that is good.
What will your computer do for me? It'll do whatever you tell me to do for you.
Tell it to do for you.
Which is why I think my dad misunderstood computers for so long. Because he literally say shit to the other. Well, just tell it to do that. It's like, Dad, this isn't like Superman 3. I can't just tell the computer to do something. How'd you get it to do that? I don't know. I just did it.
Hello, computer. Not like that.
I love when they're like talking about him somebody stole the money and they don't know who it is, and it's obviously some evil genius, and he comes rolling up in a fucking, what was it, a Lamborghini?
Lamborghini or Ferrari. He's like, no, this man, he will lay low, he will be quiet, and he will never know who he is unless he is a complete idiot. And then there he is pulling up.
Gus, the boss wants to see you. Yeah. Okay, no, not him, the big boss.
Oh, it must have been the new softball uniforms.
That's it. I put it in the suggestion box.
In fact, they use his playing in Office Space, right? They use Superman 3 in Office Space.
Didn't work in Superman 3 either. Fuck, I'm always screwing up some mundane detail. This is some big mundane detail. Yeah, even him when he gets that check.
$1,000 in like $1983. Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Because he decides to make that worm virus where he just collects up all the fractions of the cent, and I think he fucked up or whatever. It's a takeover. So much money. Yeah, it's great. People forget about the great little bits in that too. Like, and then I love the bit where he's like talking about, he's like, everything was going great, and the tornado came in, and all of a sudden Superman come in and he turned and flipped the tornado upside down.
Yeah, it was great, and
it was great. Which was basically the bit that he did on this is what got him the job in the first place, because the motherfucker went on Johnny Carson and spoiled the whole movie before it came out because he got to see it at the premiere.
Nice.
The first movie. Because Johnny's like, you love movies. He's like, oh yeah, I love watching. I go to all the movies. And he's like, so what's your favorite new movie? He's like, I just saw the Superman movie, and let me tell you, man. And he goes and he just tells the whole fucking story just like that. Acts it all out. He's like, and then Superman comes in, he spins the world around, and everything goes back to normal, and it saves Lois Lane. It's fucking great. And so the producers are like, oh my God, he just told the whole movie on TV. But so this relationship started somewhere between there, and then of course he crossed over with Margot Kidder, and it just so happened they're like, would Richard be interested in this? And
he also mentioned again on the Tonight Show that he would love to do a Superman movie.
Yeah, he said he wanted to be in a Superman movie, so that kind of got it solidified. Yeah, because he loves Superman. Oh yeah, me and Superman, we're close. Yeah, we're tight. Yeah, Superman's bad. All I want to know is how does he know that Superman does this?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's like my favorite thing. Like, when he opens up his shirt, like, yeah, I'm me Superman. It's like, how does he know that?
Yeah,
he's the only other character in these movies that breaks the fourth wall besides Superman and Clark. Mm-hmm. Because there's that bit in the first movie where Clark looks at this camera after he saves Lois from the bullet, and of course he always looks and winks at us at the end of the films. But it almost is a fourth wall breaking moment where he brings that in, because it's like, how does he know?
How did that happen in it? I forgot that.
Yeah, because at the end he's like, because after he gets dropped off at that, he's like, I think I'm gonna walk.
Yeah.
And then the guys are like, you know Superman? He's like, oh yeah, we're tight. Yeah, we're me and Superman. And he pulls open his shirt and it goes, or whatever. And he's like, well,
the bus station, but 10 miles that way.
10 miles that way.
Yep.
And then of course we haven't even brought up the great Superman versus Superman fight.
Yeah,
I remember that. I like that actually,
and I love it because it's way it's set up is it's like you can buy it because it's just him fighting with his own mind at that point. It isn't a physical thing necessarily, right?
Well, I mean, aside from the fact that he does actually burst through that metal grinder at the end, because there's
that doesn't mean that he didn't jump in there.
Yeah. Well, the other part too, and I like telling other people when they bring up Superman 3 is kind of weird when I say no. Superman 3 is kind of it's a movie that kind of foretells the future of what would eventually become Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, because you have a Superman that he gets poisoned and then he turns into this guy that's not Superman, and it's basically a nice little allegory of the franchise from when Snyder and Warner Brothers got involved to now with Zaslav taking over, because now you got this new brighter Superman that has kind of choked and killed that Snyderverse thing. And you can actually, it's all based around that fight between classic Superman and alcoholic Superman.
Smoking alcoholic Superman. He was made by tar tobacco.
Yeah.
He flicks those peanuts at the mirror, pew, or at the bottles. Pew, pew.
Yeah, that's great. What's wrong, Superman?
Yeah.
Jimmy's all or not Jimmy.
Yeah.
What's his face?
It's Ricky. And
Ricky. Thank you, Ricky.
Superman is getting drunk in a bar in downtown Alberta. Because there's the tower right there. I'm like, that's one of the Calgary towers, I think.
Yeah, because they shot the other one. Did they shoot all four of them in there, or just the second?
They shot a bunch of them in Alberta because the Kent Farm's in Alberta.
Yeah.
And it's still there. I mean, it's
okay. That's right. The first movie. I was going to say, since the first movie they have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's privately owned, but and a lot of the stuff is blocked off. You can't see it, but the original buildings, they've been restored and they're still there. And if you ask permission to the owners, they're happy if you take a photo of it, but just don't include any of the people that live there, because they want their privacy still. But they understand the importance of the house. But yeah, they did a bunch of shooting in Alberta, and then a bunch of stuff in New York, and then the rest. Most of the stuff in New York was second unit, and then the rest was all in Pinewood Studios in UK.
All right. Well, so where are we going to put 3? Because it sounds like
it's a B.
Okay, you're going to put it in the B's. Script has got a B. Greg?
I'd give it a B. I like it.
Brian, you're the one that doesn't sound like you liked it very much.
I'd give it a C. I mean, it's not bad. It's just very different from the other two, and I don't.
That's better than
like it. I don't like that as much.
It's got the Beatles on the soundtrack, for fuck's sake.
Well, it should have, with Richard Lester directing it, of course.
There you go. See, there's the Beatles connection. That's true.
Yeah. No, it's a C. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's okay.
That's true. He is also. That's the thing that's fucked up, is he's not a bad director, right?
He's actually done some good stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hard Day's Night and shit like
Hard Day's Night, Help,
it's Richard Lester.
Three Musketeers. But he is Richard Lester, and he is more based upon zany comedic.
He's got a very distinct style that works for this film. This is the one time it actually works, but I can understand why people don't like it.
It's okay. I just don't love it like the other, like 1 and 2.
Well,
so.
Although I would normally give it like a
C.
or I'm gonna give it a B. What about you, Nick?
I'm actually gonna side with you on the B, and it's only because normally I would have given it a C, but I watched it like a month ago or 2 for my first time in like 15 years, and I was like, I was way too harsh on you. And I actually really enjoyed watching it. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot more fonder thoughts towards the movie. It isn't because things are just worse. I really have a renewed appreciation for this movie. Minor nitpicks aside, which I'm not going to get into. But
it has a few issues. Don't get me wrong.
There's definitely some issues. But it is a fun, solid, entertaining movie. I still prefer a 1 and the Donner cut over it. But it's something that I will probably actually watch again soon. So B. Big B. I'll put like a B, straight B. Super straight B.
Well, I got to give it an extra point almost for all the Atari sound effects.
Yeah, like the kind of man when Superman's flying and they're basically playing a video game with him. That is great stuff. That is very comic booky stuff right there.
Yeah.
This is bugging me. I'm going to make an executive decision. We need something in the C's.
I'm with that. I think it's a C.
Because I think I can get ahead of us here.
You do that.
Yeah.
I think I know where this is going. Brian, tell us all about the history. Although I would probably put it here for my own personal.
I would put it
I
there
have a
too.
feeling-
Yeah.
It's one of these weird things, isn't it? I mean, on the
we'll
surface,
talk about it.
on the surface, Superman 4 Electric Boogaloo is a it's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie in all accounts, but as a canon film aficionado, I found it very hard to condemn it completely.
Yes.
Yeah, well, because it was the relative failure of Supergirl that caused the Salkins, or whatever you call them, to sell it to the Go-Go Boys, sell Superman and its properties. But one of the good things that came out of it is that Christopher Reeve agreed to do it because he wanted them to make a movie called Street Smart that he was interested in, the script that he had. So Cannon made the film Street Smart, which is actually a really good movie, and Morgan Freeman's first film appearance, I think, in that movie, alongside Christopher Reeve. So something really good came out of it. I mean, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's not the worst movie you'd ever see. Christopher Reeve is
pretty bad 70s. Come on.
It's pretty bad. I mean, it's incoherent. The effects are terrible.
That's city.
You can see the wires when he's getting landed on the moon. You can see the wires. It's okay, I'm trying my best to be positive. Come on.
Well, you're almost convincing me it belongs in the D's now.
Well, I'm trying my best.
It has so much historical value to it.
John Cryer in it.
Yeah, I mean, it does bring back Gene Hackman. The story isn't horrible. I mean, honestly, look.
It's the money that's the problem.
It's the money that's the problem.
And the script is terrible.
With this having been shifted over to Canon Group, it's not just that it went to Canon, who, of course, made really cheap crap, but at the same time, they had a major crisis financially. Because they were just writing checks that their butts could not cash.
It was a day ending in Y. Of course they had a
So they ended up, they could only make this film for about 17 million, which was less than half of the previous film's budget,
which I think they in
which
turn
was
turned
lower
around
than the previous film's budget.
Which, if my understanding is correct, R2, they went and funneled all but I think 1 or 2 million of that into other productions and other bills that
of course they did.
Outstanding.
Of course they did.
Yep.
They were paying Robin Peter
this
to pay
movie
Paul.
ended up funding Cyborg and a bunch of other shit on top of fucking paying off some mob loans and shit like that.
That was like Brian said, it was a day ending in Y.
Because Christopher Reeve even
Globus.
said, they basically ended up having only a couple $1,000,000 to film with, and this movie was, he got completely lied to, bamboozled. Yes,
but
he got his other movie
Street
out
of it. Street Smart
he did
out
get
of it.
street smarts out of it, but at the end of the day, it really was kind of sad. The saddest part about it isn't so much the movie itself, it's what Christopher Reeve wanted to do and didn't get to because of this canon bullshit. And at the same time, it may have been a flawed concept, because what Reeve was trying to do was take one of the no-no concepts from Superman and try to tell you why, in a way, you can't do these kind of stories. And in that reasoning, I think it all got kind of muddled in the mess of everything else. And maybe Script knows more about this than I do, but the whole idea is there's these no-no stories for Superman. He can't stop World War, he can't get in the middle of wars, certain other aspects and stories that they just won't touch in Superman comics. So Christopher literally took the nuclear war story and decided he was going to make that into the next Superman movie. And really, what the movie ends up telling you is that Superman shouldn't interfere with this shit. That's kind of the whole point.
But it does continue.
Hard lesson of staying out of those serious interpolitical aspects, but at the same time, and the original ending, which is on the special features, it shows you why Superman doesn't agree with the fact that there are these types of wars, because he sees the world from such a distance that he recognizes it as just one planet and one species. And if everybody else could start thinking that way, you would have a lot less conflicts. Which
is funny, because I think that's going to be a major theme in the new Superman movie.
I would not be surprised.
Another problem is it does continue the Superman film trope of ignoring physics. In the
completely,
I don't think they've ever explained why Mariel Hemingway can fly through space without breathing.
Space, yeah.
Yep.
Not to mention all the other flaws, yeah.
Not to mention that annoying kid.
And a lot of people in it didn't seem to really
Superman
care.
could do it.
All he said was, "It's like shut up."
Yeah, they dubbed that kid's voice with a douchebag.
I'm doing my best to make it more of a D than an F, but it really
It's
is
almost
an F.
like you have to give it a D because it's like it didn't know how bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
there's it's so bad that it's good. Well, then there's things that are so bad that they're just bad.
It's
This
like
one's
giving
so
this-
bad that it's kind of good. And
like giving this and
it's
Supergirl
entertaining.
an F almost feels like punching a retard.
Yeah, it's entertaining because of its badness. It's still entertaining.
Oh God.
Yeah. And
just have to
Reeves,
make it
Christopher
worse.
Reeves. Christopher Reeves still great in it. I want the extended cut, as somebody in the chat
Me
is saying.
too.
I want the
Yeah.
extended cut.
There is a YouTuber who's working on an ultimate version of it, and Script and I have been kind of
143 minutes.
Yeah.
yeah.
143-minute cut as opposed to the 90-minute.
Because they do have a
cut
bunch
that
of
we
the
got.
deleted scenes on the DVDs and Blu-rays, and this guy's gone in and he like fixed the Mariel Hemingway not being in space shit, for
He
instance.
fixed the rebuilding of the Great Wall of China with Superman doing it at super speed and not just with his laser vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there's the flaws in these movies. Don't get me wrong. I know we kind of treat them with rose-tinted glasses, and this is the kind of movie to really remind you that, yeah, these movies have some very flawed elements to them. Very flawed elements to them. And sometimes Superman just has this magical power where he can just do shit with his mind. It's
Yeah, like he can telepathically lower people that are being floated in the air by Nuclear Man.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, the super kiss probably didn't work because Lois seems to remember stuff from part 2 all of a sudden.
It's temporary.
And it is the same
Yeah.
writers as Star Trek 4.
Is it?
It's the same writers. Screenplay is the same writers
Well,
as
then,
Star Trek
yeah.
4.
Well, Nick Meyer also rewrote or wrote
Sorry,
the
Star
original
Trek
version,
6. Sorry,
but I was going to
6.
say
I said
he's also
4.
worked on that
Nick
one too.
Meyer
Six.
and
Sorry,
Leonard Nimoy wrote
six.
Star Trek
Six.
6.
Yeah,
Sorry, I meant
Meyer
s-
wrote-
I thought The Undiscovered Country was written by Corner and Rosenthal.
No,
No.
Unless they did a rewrite of some kind.
well, there were several writers that were assigned to Star Trek 6 that did absolutely nothing.
okay.
they were
So
simply-
Nimoy,
They were placed in there by the studio and Nimoy and
Yeah.
Actually, didn't he come in
Meyer.
and rewrite?
So Meyer
Nimoy and
and
Meyer
Cohen-
wrote it together. or
Yeah,
something.
Myers
well.
then wrote it together, and Kerner and Rosenthal just came up with the concept with Leonard Nimoy, and then they just
right,
kinda
okay.
left.
They are credited as writers.
Well, story
I
by
don't know
version,
that
it's just I come up with the idea, and then the
I mean,
screenplay credit.
But
is
they're
back
still
to the
not
writer.
bad writers because they've written stuff like for The Sopranos and shows like they're okay writers. Jewel of the
Well,
Nile.
the movie itself, as we've been pointing out, like, look, there is actually a decent movie in here.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what Reeve was trying to do was like, okay, we're going to take this a little bit back more serious. We got Gene Hackman back. We got a love triangle with Mariel Hemingway. Like, he was trying to bring it back to a little bit more grounded, Superman, trying to make it more the Donner style. Like, that was his goal, but it was him getting wrapped up in the bullshit at canon that really fucked it over. Like, I mean,
At
honestly,
this
that's
point, I'm almost tempted to have talked myself into having it as a D and Supergirl's an F. I was going
I
to
know,
do them
that's
the other
where
way
I'm
around.
at.
I've kind of talked myself into it the opposite. Superman 4D, Supergirl F.
and it's almost more so and I agree with you, and my reasoning behind that is just because Christopher Reeve did try with this movie, right? Like he had he had a real motive here to make a good movie with a good message, with a good story, and he got completely fucking bamboozled by these guys. To where Supergirl was purely made to, we need to continue this fucking franchise and we don't know how else to do it.
Yeah. And the fight between Nuclear Man and Superman is pretty good, cool fight, regardless.
I want
except
Superman.
for when they accidentally trip over the black tarp that they're standing
Yeah.
on, and you can see behind the
I
floor
mean,
behind
it's
them.
not without its flaws, as we mentioned.
Not
but
only
it's a
that, they
good
had
fight.
Gene Hackman dub his voice. It's
Right.
supposed to be a clone of Superman.
God, my voice.
Looks like fucking Fabio and sounds like Gene Hackman. Because I think that's the other problem with this movie is I think Christopher Reeve was supposed to actually play both parts initially. And that was another thing they had to change because they couldn't afford that. Right? Like that's this movie. This whole movie was a compromise on Christopher Reeve's behalf. And it's because of how much of a professional he was that I think he actually went through with it. Because I think anybody else would have been like, you know what? fuck this. You can talk to my lawyers
Yeah.
because this is not what I signed up for. And
Now
it's
this-
sad because he was going to do another one before he got paralyzed too.
Yep.
Mhm.
There's footage of him at a convention where someone asked him the question. He's like, "I've read this treatment and the first draft of the script, and it's something I'm really excited to do. And if we get the funding, I'll be happy to reprise my role as Superman for Superman 5." And sadly, yeah, it was. I think it was about like 7 or 8 months later is when he had his accident.
Mm.
Wasn't he
meant to
going to
be.
direct too, as well? One of the Superman
I think
projects.
he wanted to. Well, he wanted to direct this one,
But they wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
but maybe I don't know. But I mean, it was the only reason we were getting a Superman 5 is because Batman.
Yep.
Let's
Yeah,
be clear.
Yeah.
So Warner would have got behind it, and he probably would have got. They would have got the money. It would just this tragic thing happen, and it kind of got turned into Superman Lives then.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that happened in the meantime was the death of Superman, and I think weren't they gonna? Was that before or after he got in the accident? I'm trying to remember.
He got in the accident, I think, in 93 or 94.
Okay, so it was after that then, right? Or
It was while Lois and Clark was on the air.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to remember if his Superman was playing off the death of Superman or not. Because Superman Lives, wasn't that supposed to be like a quasi sequel to the death of Superman in a way, like just a movie version of it?
It was really just called Superman 5. It didn't get Lives on there until Kevin Smith got on board because he wanted to call it after Fletch Lives.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a
geez.
recycled version of whatever they were going to
Yeah.
probably do before.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then Kevin.
Well, and
Smith's
John
version-
Peters was just a nut anyway. So yeah. So and I don't know how he even got involved. That must have been the point somewhere where in between there he got involved.
So he had a contract with Warner Brothers, and after Superman Quest for Peace, he managed to his company secured the rights to Superman because Canon
That's right.
was selling everything in a fire sale because they had owed so much money to other people.
I remember now because he was all hopped up on, especially post Batman. He was like, there's like 50 songs out there about Superman. You see kids with these, at school with these great big Superman necklaces made out of gold and shit. Superman's the street.
Something like that, yeah. Which is weird vernacular to have for a Los Angeles-based hairdresser.
He says everything is the fucking street.
Yeah.
It's like, you know why I get Batman? Because I'm from the street, and Batman's from the street.
I mean, that's Kevin Smith's interpretation.
But I've heard him fucking say it.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's one time that Kevin Smith is not really exaggerating. I've seen enough interviews with John Peters now that I'm like, he ain't fucking lying. If anything, he's probably taming some of this shit down. Because I've heard this fucker say some of this stupid shit in interviews. I'm just like, this guy cannot be for fucking real. Like, he is. And for those who don't know, this motherfucker made it in the industry by being Barbara Streisand's hairdresser and fucking her.
Well, at the same time, I mean, that would have been a very messy
Yes!
haircut.
That's how great
Yes!
of a hairdresser he is. I mean,
He made her learn how to sing. No, I don't. And he's borderline queer himself. I mean, then he hangs out with David Geffen all the time.
That
which
would
makes you wonder
explain
weird.
that.
No, I'm just
That
kidding.
would
I don't
explain
know.
the Barbara Streisand thing. Then
The Barbara Streisand. Yeah, there's the Barbara Streisand thing. Yeah.
explain that. Yeah.
No, I don't know. No, John Peters is a wackadoo. But I think we got a pretty good list here. Is there anything else anybody's got any problem with? I did move. I agree with that because Supergirl was made for intentions of just, we need to make another one
I
of these
would
things.
personally
they
put
wanted to
four-
actually do a pair with Supergirl and Superman fighting a big enemy in a future sequel, but so much stuff went wrong with Supergirl.
I just feel like there was more genuine passion behind Superman Quest for Peace that just didn't
Oh yeah,
get realized as opposed to Supergirl. Like I believe and agree with, I think it was Brian was kind of saying this. Yeah, if anything, this is probably where it should be. I think this is fair.
I just went into the show thinking the other way around, and I've talked myself into the way you've put it.
I would put 4 in F, but hey, whatever. I'll settle.
Yeah, I did have it F written down for myself here at first.
My
But
stance
the more
is
I
not
think
soft.
about it, it's like, there someday we might get the Christopher Reeve cut or whatever you want to fucking call it.
Well, the fact that Superman 4 features Christopher Reeve and Supergirl doesn't is almost enough to make him. In
That's
the order
true
you put them
too.
in.
Yeah, we only get a picture of Christopher Reeve as Superman, and
Yeah, there's a
And
poster
you even
or
get
something.
Gene Hackman back. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and Cryer ended up being a big part of the franchise later on too. So I mean,
well,
not a
that's
big
how
part, but he
that's
showed
Warner
up
Brothers.
again.
So that's CW desperate stunt casting.
I know, but he still was there, and it's just whatever you think of him. I mean,
No, I think
he's
all
actually
right.
a good stand-in for Otis at the end. Like, if anything,
Yeah.
And their
because
dynamic was pretty good in the.
I was going to
It
say
pretty
that's the
funny.
thing that I think works best for it, because you got Ducky coming into this, and you're like, all right, I'll give this kid a chance, and then he's actually kind of got his own little character that works with Gene Hackman, because like he's almost more obnoxious than Otis.
I mean, he does call him the Dutch elm disease of his family.
That's what I mean. Like, he has such contempt for him that you're like, yeah, I like this. Like, yeah. So I don't know.
It's fascinating to think that Canon at one point had the rights to Spider-Man, Captain America, He-Man, and Superman.
Right. No
Well, it's
shit.
just phenomenal. They had the rights to all of
I
those.
know.
Oh yeah,
online.
well, yeah. Canon was throwing money around like
Yeah,
crazy that
it's great.
they did not have. So
Nick,
that is amusing.
you were telling us a story earlier about Quest for Peace, and you didn't get to finish because we hadn't got to this yet.
All
so-
I just want to say is my
Spotlight's
favorite
here.
part of the movie is not the movie, is the poster. The poster.
Well, it's a great fucking poster. I had that poster on my wall, actually.
And that's about it.
Well, you started a story that you didn't get to finish, so I wanted to hear the rest of it. Where you said,
Oh no, that was all it.
well, your dad, you said, you sure you want to watch this kind of thing?
Oh
So that-
yeah, oh god, yeah. And I remember like being kind of put off about it as a kid. I was like, I thought it looked like a cheap movie as a kid. I didn't know that was the word, but something about it looked very off. I'm like, wow, this movie is very hard to watch. I couldn't figure out why. And somewhere between middle school and high school, I realized, wow, this is a cheap looking movie. Nuclear Man is awful. And then I did actually rewatch this one a few months ago as well. And man, oh, yikes. Oh, mess. Yeah, it's, I mean, I guess you could say it's a D compared to Man of Murder, but I guess because on its own merits, oh, yeah. Maybe at D- is my most generous. Maybe that's about it. But yeah, it is one of those things where I just, from an early age, this is one of those things where my stance was that, oh, I was perhaps too hard on you, like I was at 3. No, 4 was very consistent and consistently not entertaining. That's all I got.
Well, Superman 4. Yeah.
The quest for more money.
That's what I was going to say because I was thinking Mel
It
Brooks.
wasn't. This is why I make a little argument for it, even though I won't. Too
Actually,
bad,
sorry, but Tom, I'm going to interrupt you. I'd say, rather than that, I'd say the quest for any money.
Yeah. There was something else I was going to add to this, and I forgot what it was now. It's all right. So yeah, I think we got it now. I think this is where we should leave it. And with that, I think we're gonna head on out of here. Professor R2, what you got going on?
Oh, just the usual. Price and I will be on Price of Reason Live Tuesday and Thursday evenings, 11:45 Eastern for the Night Owl. Just talking about the usual stuff.
We still had super chats. That's my fault. I forgot. We stopped in the middle of them last time. That was my bad. So we'll get back to that in just a second here. ActionCom sends in 5, says, why was Richard Pryor famous enough to get Superman 3? What was his big achievement at the time? Oh, he was one of the biggest stand-up comedians.
Oh, yeah.
He had been in, things like The Wiz and some of his own films at that point already. He famously, of course, worked on Blazing Saddles, and he had all the inroads with a lot of people in Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The
he
Toy
was filling,
he had just made a couple of years before that was big.
He was filling stadiums for his stand-up.
Yeah. The only comedian who was probably bigger than him at the time was probably Bill Cosby.
Yeah, Cosby was probably the only guy that was bigger than him. Yeah, no question.
Even
he was
Carlin and
huge.
stuff probably paled in comparison and stuff.
And he would sell albums like crazy too.
Right.
His comedy albums were big sellers.
Yeah, and he had a string of pretty decent films there that did pretty good. And Superman 3 was kind of like a good jumping point off of where he did the toy. It brought him to the family audience between the toy and Superman 3, because that's my introduction to Richard Pryor. And then I got into the other stuff later in life, through Gene Wilder and his Richard Pryor, doing that stuff. And then eventually I found his comedy, like R2 was talking about. And yeah, and just from there. So yeah, no, that was pretty much it. And that he talked about it on the show, as we talked about earlier on Johnny Carson, and that got him the role. Action Com says, what do you think of Brad? Well, I think we talked a little bit about Brad. The actor is actually a good character actor. I'm trying to think of his name.
Oh yeah,
you've seen him in a few things, yeah.
Yeah, he was funny, I think, like we talked about, I think with Superman 3, I think with that is when people first saw it, it was like, hey, this isn't like the first two. I don't know if I like this, but I think there you go. But I think over time, Superman 3, when people have gone back and watched it, they realized it's actually a decent movie.
Because, of course, most famously, he's the original older brother on Happy Days.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in Death Wish 3. That's the other one I always remember him from.
Yeah.
He was also in Willow. That's right. Yeah. And then Action Com says there's a deleted scene on YouTube where Brad talks about his life in high school. He was known as the Smallville Flash. Yes, I believe that's from the TV cut, implying that he may have wanted a football career, but it didn't work out. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. He's clearly that guy who shit never worked out for. And he's actually the same character that is giving Clark shit in the first Superman movie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a little bit more extended stuff in the TV cut. Dead Man says, not the same actor, but same character. Dead Man says, nope, the best Star Trek movie is the motion picture. Changed my mind. I wouldn't dream of it. If that's the one you like the most, then that's the one you like the most.
Mm-hmm.
Action Com sends in 2 and says, Superman 3 opening scene, 3 Stooges inspired. I would say maybe, but not so much. No, I would. It's kind of just like Lester's. How do I put this? I don't know if it's really necessarily inspired by anything.
No, it's kind of also a nod a little bit to his Hard Day's Night and Beatles stuff.
I was going to say, like, it's his own style. Yeah, that was what I was getting at. It's kind of his shtick. I mean, really. Series of unfortunate events that just keep happening over one little thing. Yeah, that's kind of like, it's almost like a Hitchcockian comedic, but in the comedic form in a way. Like, one little thing causes this set of, kind of like the opening to the new Jurassic movie with a Snickers wrapper.
So wait, someone like looks at the ingredients in a chewing gun wrapper and discovers unlocks the
what sets off the problem and puts people in peril is that I guess a Snickers wrapper gets in some kind of electrical shit or something or other. But like in the beginning of Superman 3, that little penguin that gets away that's on fire sets all the things up,
everything in motion.
The string in motion of everything, including the robbers and everything. Yeah. I just one of those like huge things where it's kind of just like an ancillary thing where Clark is just kind of like, able to kind of play into what's going on in Metropolis and have this kind of fun opening bit, I think is all it is. See, because the funny thing is it's just for the opening title sequence in the movie, but on the TV version, they do a sequence that's like the other two movies, and it just plays out like a regular scene. So it's kind of weird in the TV version.
Yeah,
it doesn't make as much sense.
The version makes more sense, but like, the TV version, the theatrical version where it just plays over the scene. It's very different tone completely than what we've seen before.
Yeah. And then we've got Zion Hu, if I'm saying that, or Sean Hu, I think is one of the, how would you?
John Hu, yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Sends in 742. Say Superman 3, the scene turning Vera Webster into a robot was truly terrifying. I think that gave a lot of kids nightmares.
Oh yeah, that scared the piss out of me as a kid. I've
heard multiple people say that shit. Yeah, that's pretty. And you don't even like the character. It's just terrifying. Yeah. And she comes back out with that fucking shit all over her. Yeah. Kalekioki sends in 5 and says, despite the quality of the film, I would put Man of Steel on the list because it's still technically a standalone Superman film, even though it led to DCU. It's not a Superman film.
Yeah.
I don't remember
It's
Superman
a murder
being in
man.
it.
Murder man.
Yeah, I know. I'm just picking on you. Action Comics says, Street Smarts launched Morgan Freeman's career. I'll bet he loves himself some Superman 4, and a copy probably has a prominent place in his house. Maybe. Maybe. And then we got Action Comics says, Nuclear Man is solar powered. That's true.
Yeah. Just like Riri Williams.
Oh.
You know, they even dump him in the nuclear power plant, and everybody's got electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they call him Solar Man then?
No, it's from a nuclear reaction.
I don't know. Action Comics says, can we see the photo of the first Nuclear Man, and which celebrity does he look like? Okay, so yeah, you sent this to me. And this is on all the deleted scenes of the DVDs and Blu-rays or whatever of the special edition of Superman 4. Who does he look like? A little bit like Danny DeVito, but not really. I don't know.
No, he looks a little bit like the fat guy from the Burbs, who's the neighbor, Art.
Oh,
Okay.
I was thinking of young Ozzy.
Ozzy Osbourne, yeah.
Yeah, young Ozzy.
I
Osbourne.
met the Superman. He had some power. They may say I'm a nuclear man now. Yeah. He's goofy motherfucker. They cut all that shit out. Yeah, so there's actually two nuclear men in the movie. But the first version, which didn't work out so well,
It was made domestically.
yeah, it gets completely cut out. And then we've got Pilgrim Media says, I'm watching Superman 70. Well, I mean, I think you mean 78. What a lineup. Yes, indeed. And then we got Action Comics says, for a time, Mark Pillow's whereabouts were an internet mystery for a time. Eventually, someone was able to score in the interview with him. Oh, really?
Cool.
Then Jason Webster says, Superman 4 an Alan Smithy film. Oh, did the director take his name off it?
I don't think he did.
No,
Did he?
no.
I don't think
I
so.
think he's just making a joke.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he
It is-
probably wanted
It could have been. I don't remember. That's what I was going to say. Maybe. Is it one of the famous ones? I don't know. Dead Man says koalas in the rain. Yeah, it's getting on that time, isn't it? And then we've got Dead Man again. He says, great chat tonight, guys. And thank you all for showing up. Thanks for everybody who came in from the Valiant raid as well. And we did our 2. You got to plug your stuff, right? Was there anything else you wanted to plug? Either he checked out or he's muted. But he shows up on the Night Owl stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Oh,
with
sorry,
Price.
internet was
no, you're
dropping out
fine.
again.
And he has his own channel as well, correct?
Yeah, I don't really do much of it with it right now, but yeah, join me and Price over on the Night Owl, Price of Reason Live, Tuesday, Thursday nights, 11:45 p.m. Eastern.
All right. And if you like things like Superman and the Canon talk that we did here, Brian does the Canon Movie Club and some other stuff.
I do for Canon Film Club. Not sure what the next one of those will be. It'll be sometime later this month. But tomorrow on my channel, we are talking about another movie. It's one of my other series we do, the Cult Comedy Crew, and we'll be discussing the 2017 satirical comedy The Death of Stalin, which is exceptionally brutal and exceptionally funny. If you've never seen it, you've never seen
I
it.
haven't, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, such a
Maybe
good movie. So we'll be chatting that. Jason Isaacs as General Zukov, one of the finest performances in a comedy ever, I think. But anyway, yeah, check that out. 3 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow. We should have some laughs. That one definitely will never be monetized. Some of the clips.
All right. Sounds good. So check out that 70s Rock Fan channel. And thanks, Brian, for being here. Greg, what you got going on?
I have a video dropping tomorrow where I talk about David Lynch's Blue Velvet, because I just recently watched that for the first time. And of course, over on my channel, we do the Physical Media Show every Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern Time, PM Eastern Time, me and Tom and some other people, and we talk about what we watched for the week with our physical media. And I just, basically talk physical media, movies, Superman, horror movies, boobies, stuff like that over on my channel.
All right. Nick!
Wow.
It's Toxic Tuesday.
Let's see. Well, this week we're taking off because we're seeing Superman, remember?
That's so toxic.
But the week after will be 10 to midnight, Charles Bronson.
Oh, it reminds me, I got to share my materials.
Superman. So I'll do a video for it when I come back. And then, of course, I'll hop on here so you and I, whoever else sees it Tuesday night, can talk about it. And then Klobby's Comic Shop Friday night. Oh, and I'll be working with that 70s rock fan and a few other dudes, super group style. And we got a spin-off channel on the way coming out. And it's going to be called Bonded by Metal. And the first video is be titled 3 Albums You Hate from Bands You Love. It's going to be awesome.
That sounds like a fun show.
We're going to do a nice hour and a half long video on it. And yeah, the channel should be debuting in a few days. We'll record it Wednesday night, and then we'll drop it, as soon as we're ready to drop it after that. So it's going to be great. Got the thumbnail ready, got the logo made, and
sweet.
I'm ready to get this new channel. I'll probably have the channel start launching tomorrow so people can sub to it. But yeah,
send me the info on it. Send me the info on it all.
I will.
That way I can share it out for the shows. All right.
Cool.
Script, thank you, and thanks for being here, man. And Script, thanks for making the time to be here, buddy. And what do you got going? I know Scripts on Saturdays is your usual thing. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. The only thing I am for certain able to be booked for, because I've been working on a couple of film sets in the Toronto area for the past few weeks. So it's been occupying a lot of my days, and in some cases my evenings. I am hoping to try and still make it to Price of Reason's Quantum Leap Revisited stream on Thursday, but I've got a big day that day. Then I got Scripts on Saturdays this Saturday, where we'll be reviewing a interesting little script called Vanished, which is about a girl who had disappeared a decade ago, and she finally shows up at her family's doorstep and is shocked to find how much that family has changed in the past 10 years.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Interesting. M. Night Shyamalan will probably direct.
It's similar to like an Ed Harris film that was made 15 years ago. Same type of premise. These types of things go on a cycle where they pop up again and again.
All right. Well, check that out. And I will be on the morning show, of course. And yes, Sadie, I know it's time to go out. Let me end the show. Let me end the show. Okay? Let me end the show. You guys don't understand. She's like, I'm trying to work the mouse, and she shoves her head up underneath where my mouse arm is. So I can't actually do anything.
Sadie knows what she's doing.
She does in a weird way, but she doesn't. It's like you're just making it prolonged. I know, you're just making it go longer. Are you ready to go out?
He's trying to make it. We need to take the Browns to the Super Bowl now.
Time for some
koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas in the rain.